Now we're really just 2 weeks away from the start of training camp. Man, and you know what? I will say this, of all the years that we've been doing this now in JAKIB, this may be the most interesting year for this football team. With all the tremendous resumes that we have seen and all the great things that we have seen with this football team over the last 5 years, make no this will be the most interesting season. You know, I wrote something down and I was going to get to it a little bit later. By the way, guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Super chats go to the top. You guys have been great there. Hey, by the way, I think it's been some of the best conversation that we've had also in 5 years for the offseason. I think it's just been spectacular. I think our conversations, and again, I think everybody in Philadelphia is giving the benefit of the doubt. Whereas for me, again, I look at it pure through a football lens. I don't really look at it with any kind of emotion like you guys do. This is your football team. You guys love this team. And I get that. Me, I look at it through the football season and what the football team looks like to me. And I said it yesterday, and I'll continue to say this. The national media is usually a year behind and how they cover and how they look at your football team. I mean, they're a year behind. So they're definitely giving people the benefit of the doubt. Whereas anybody who covers the team on a day-to-day basis is going to have a different lens on how they see that team. So I was going to save this till later, as I said, but here we go. You know, this goes down to the quarterback and pretty much the offense. Do you think that, again, that a resume can be overshadowed by a poor passing attack? What I mean is this. The resume on what that offense has accomplished. This is not just a Jalen Hurts conversation. This is an offense conversation. On what you've accomplished in the last 4 years, can a bad passing attack really overshadow a winning formula? Because that's what it looks like is happening now. And by the way, it's not a conversation where, hey, Sills, you know, that's a good no, I'm not debating what you've accomplished in 4 years. It's been remarkable and it's been great. Well, then why are we going through all these facelift changes? If winning matters. To me, the poor passing attack is now overshadowed the winning, which to me is a flaw. And this is why I'm picking you only to win 8 ball games. It's not because I think you have lesser talent, and you do a little bit because of loss of AJ, but I think it's a course direction that's going to run you into an iceberg. Hey, Sills, when they mentioned all-time great quarterbacks, Bradshaw's never mentioned 14-5 postseason NFL MVP and 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Not only that, if you look at his numbers, I think he's got more interceptions than he has touchdown throws. It was a different era, Kyle, for the quarterback. And I heard the guys talking about Joe Namath being a Hall of Fame guy. Do you know why Joe Namath is a Hall of Fame player? It's because the most talented quarterback in the NFL decided to play in the AFL. And he merged the leagues. If it wasn't for Namath, there'd be no AFC. Namath was the reason that the merger took place. When Namath didn't go to the St. Louis Cardinals and he went to the Jets, it changed everything. The battle between the AFL and the NFL began when Namath left. OJ followed and went to the Bills. And then you started seeing a battle for players coming out of college. You could sign with the AFL or you could sign with the NFL. And that was Namath's ultimate importance. And then he played in the most important game of all time. Super Bowl III. That completely validated the AFL. So at the end of the day, name its importance. It's not just because of what you looked at with the Jets and his record. He's one of the most influential people in the history of the National Football League. If it wasn't for Namath, there's no modern day NFL. Namath is the most important player from 1966 all the way through to his career when he merged the league. His importance, it's more than just numbers and wins. Same thing with OJ. I mean, that's why the Bills not recognizing OJ. Again, that's years after his career, but OJ was one of the most influential NFL players of all time as well. Hit the like button. Appreciate it. Now, back to the conversation we were just having. Dude, end of the day. Okay? End of the day here. Aren't the Eagles overlooking winning? They're overlooking winning. Like, their poor passing attack the last 3 years, really his entire career in Philadelphia, has not been a very good passing career. He's not a very good passer. And he's not been. Now, when you add the other components, he's been a heck of a football player. But you're overlooking what they're doing. A team accomplishments doesn't hide who you really are. Correct. The poor passing is too much of a trend to ignore. And it makes the quarterback look worse when he had a great line and skilled position players to throw to. That's correct. Hey, Suave, and I appreciate you, bro. Listen, that to me is the essence of my criticism towards Jalen. I've always said he was a caboose. And he did a great job being that caboose. He knew when to turn it on. He knew when to sit back. Hey, there's an art to that too. Most guys get in their own way. Jalen knew he had a better team than his skill set. So what did he do? He took a step back. That's leadership. That's the intangible you talk about. 2024, Saquon Barkley was the engine, okay? Hurts did the right thing. All right, I'm going to sit back. We're going to ride that. And he did. Dude, Joe Burrow's not doing that. Josh Allen's not doing that. Lamar Jackson is not going to be asked to do that. But Hurts said, okay. There's a skill set to that. And there's an importance to that. Meaning this, hey, you build a great team, I'm going to utilize the guys in the huddle. If you put a good football team out there on the field, and I happen to be the lesser guy in the huddle, all right. Troy Aikman was the lesser guy in the huddle. Emmitt Smith was the better player. Michael was second. The O-line could have been first, second, or third picket. And Aikman was the caboose on those teams. Troy Aikman was a caboose. He wasn't the lead engine. That guy wasn't leading you to a Super Bowl. Emmitt was. That Cowboy team was an Emmitt Smith team. Was it a Troy Aikman team? Troy took a seat and said, okay, well, I've got a great third down receiver, and I've got a great running attack. I give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit for doing that. A lot of people couldn't put their ego aside and sit there and go, but what it makes it is this. It makes it harder to evaluate the importance of that player. Like, when you see the team with lesser talent, even Troy Aikman later in his career, when the talent got less in Dallas, he didn't look very good. He couldn't carry a football team. That's the greatness of Brady. Brady had two careers. His early career, and then there was a 10-year gap. He didn't win a Super Bowl. And then he would go on and win 4 more. There was 2 careers, a career in his 20s and then a career in his late 30s and early 40s. But early in his career, he was a caboose. It was the defense and special teams in New England. Brady saw the same shit. He was like, look, I got a great defense. I got a great defensive-minded coach. I've got Adam Vinatieri. I've got all these weapons here. I don't really have to do much. Think about something that Tom Brady had to do. Tom Brady had to get the ball to the 50-yard line. And then after that, you could play special teams, kick field goals, and win games, and theoretically win Super Bowls. Okay, at the end of the day, well, here's this guy. You're right. You can't compare the Dallas Cowboys to the Eagles. Okay, because that football team had more consistency during that time. And again, remember, that was pre-salary cap. Stop comparing the Cowboys and Eagles. They suck. Tell the truth. Hurts can't throw the ball. Aikman can say that, please. Aikman can throw. Aikman's a better thrower of the football. He's a better player than Hurts, yes. But Troy, you're missing the point. Okay? I mean, you're missing the point. Brady didn't eat snacks or eat sacks or cost field position. You're missing the point, Rasputin. I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is in the conversation of a skill set of a Brady. He can't dissect defense. I'm talking about importance of a huddle. The quarterback early in Brady's career in New England was the second dude. It was special teams, and you're missing the point. As always, you missed the point. Get this. Hurts rarely takes sacks. The bulk of them are runs behind the line. This guy averages 45 sacks a year. He takes 45 sacks a year because he can't read a defense. Once again, this is not true. Here, look at the numbers of sacks he takes. And the majority of these sacks are, and by the way, Hurts holds on to the football longer than any quarterback in pro football. Again, somehow you guys are trying to steer this to Hurts. Here, not counting the postseason, since he's been a starter, 38, 36, 38, 32. So he doesn't average 45. He averages 33 sacks a year. He's taken 183 minus plays in his career. Once again, here we go, aiming it at the quarterback. I get it. He's the focal point. Okay? He's the focal point. These are failed runs. Are you crazy? Failed runs. Dude, you should be quiet for a while. Cowboys won Super Bowls when they cut Sileo. Like it. Here. Says Aikman never threw over $4,000 and highest TD season was 23. He only did that once and averaged 13 INTs, but he ran the machine perfectly. Correct. Yes. And he had a great coordinator and a great offensive line. My point is, with this topic here, there's no doubt that the Philadelphia Eagles are looking at the passing attack and they're putting winning aside. Here's something that's even more so to the point. How much money do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are spending on that offense in 2026? Wrote the number down. By the way, it's the highest number. I didn't think it was this high. The Eagles this year are spending $253 million on their offensive attack. $353.5 million. The Niners are second, 245.7. The Cowboys are third with $234 million. In contrast, the Eagles are spending the least amount of money on their defense at $83.5 million. What the hell is the salary cap? The 2026 salary cap. NFL salary cap was what? 301. Think about that for a second. The salary cap is $301 million. And the Eagles are spending $253 million. $253 million on one of the worst passing offenses in pro football. That's why they're pissed. They're not getting their value. Remember how many times last year I asked guys like M. Reyes, do you think the offense has lived up to the expectations? You think you're getting $253 million? Almost 90% of your salary cap going toward that offense? That was 23rd? $253 million is what you're spending this year on an offense who can't get out of its own way. That's why they're pissed. They're not getting their economic return. It's either the quarterback, get this, it's either the quarterback, it's either coaching, or the team's starting to get old. And that unit's getting old. I'll tell you one thing, you're not getting your value. And by the way, this is why you're making all your schematic changes. That's right. Hey, Rasputin, don't tell that guy that. Hey, listen, like I said, you spending the most money of any team in the National Football League by a lot, and you're not getting your return on investment. And this is a fact. You're not. And this is why you're making all these changes. Seals, the Eagles underperformed on early downs last year. Their 3-and-outs were the worst in the league. If the line doesn't improve their run blocking schemes in this West Coast, will this scheme fix this? No, because the quarterback's got to throw on time. And I don't believe he can. Get this. Underpaid defense has been carrying this offense for 2 years now. Yeah. Going on a third year. Okay. Well, no return on investment. They won a Super Bowl with this group. Hey, Archie, then why are they changing? It all goes back to that, folks. Then why are they changing? No return on investment. Okay, then why are they making such massive changes? All right, Arch, I'll wait for you to answer that. Why are they making such radical changes to their offense and wanting the quarterback to do things that he's not capable? Because the league caught up. Get this. That's the worst conversation that Eagle fans have. Next to the fact that your offensive line was bad last year. Okay? So here, according to Archie, when George Foreman gets into the ring and throws a right hand for 20 years, all the boxers catch up to him, but yet he still knocks him out. You know what George Foreman and Mike Tyson are going to throw. It doesn't matter what you do. Those guys are going to throw the same right hand. So to sit there and say, because the league caught up, is stupid. If you do something great, The league never catches up because of your greatness. Ali, nobody caught up with Ali. He never changed his style. Styles make fights. The Eagles are being asked to change their style. That's why you're 8 wins. They need to buck the trend and let Hurts and the offense play in the preseason. But sadly, no, they won't, and it will be an ugly start to the season. I happen to agree with you. I'm going to give you, I got a topic on this, what we're talking about here. Jalen Hurts and the rest of the Eagles just want to win the game. Okay? Well, that's not what the Eagle organization's doing. Get this. Or has he added new wrinkles to his selection? What's the new wrinkles? Not running? Sills, exactly. Has the league caught up to Andy McVay? Totally ridiculous answer. Correct. The league has not caught up with DRPO. I heard that today when those guys were talking about that on Birds. You tell me if you think this topic here fits or it doesn't. I'll even do that Stunad M. Reyes in this one. Has the league caught up with the RPO? Or did Nick just not know how to coach it? Did the league catch up with the RPO? They run RPOs in Buffalo. They run RPOs in Baltimore. Nobody's catching up with those guys. How are they caught up in Philly? Sills, Howie has made the team foolproof because, and says Hurts fails, which they don't want him to. They have the roster and the coaching set up for another quarterback to insert. Question is, would it be a veteran or will it be a draft pick? Get this. Lamar Jackson, nobody's caught up with him. Nobody's caught up with Josh Allen. Nick just doesn't know how to coach it. So you ask the question, has Nick Hurts his ability to develop as a quarterback? And the answer is yes. You know why? Look at his hires. If Nick Sirianni makes the call, why do the coordinators all look more like Nick and not Shane Steichen? Outside of Shane Steichen, he's the only coach that fit the quarterback. And by the way, he's the only coach that got the best out of the quarterback. Ever since Shane Steichen has left, Jalen Hurts, I'll tell you what, if Shane Steichen and Jalen Hurts hooked up again in Indianapolis, they'd win 13 ball games with that team. Jalen and Shane would win a ton of games, and they would be maybe in the Final Four in the AFC. If Jalen Hurts played in Indianapolis on AstroTurf with that coach, they'd win 13 games. I am convinced of it. Good defense, great O-line, tremendous running game. He'd win a shitload of games in Indy. Shitload of games. But every coach that Nick has hired. Hey, let me ask you this. You think Sean Mannion is closer to what Nick knows in offense or Jalen's skill? Ask you this. Then how is Jalen a caboose? Because Nick puts him there. Are you not getting that? Nick puts Hurts in the caboose seat. That's Nick putting him there. To Zander's point, don't you think, Sills? Him not knowing that, how to coach it and the fact that the quarterback's got certain limitations. So what does Nick do? Nick categorizes him and puts him in the rear. That's a Nick decision. They want to run the ball. They want to be a run-first football team. All their investments are in the offensive line. Get this. Flimsy-ass narrative. Well, that's the fact. I'll ask you this. Here, let's go here. Kellen Moore. Does he have a style calling plays more like Nick or Jalen's skill? Anybody? Flimsy ass. Get this. So when you hire Kellen Moore and seeing what Kellen Moore does now, you think he's more in Nick's room on a passing type quarterback or an RPO guy? What do you think? Really? You think Cincinnati wants to run the ball first? Okay? It's funny. Sills is trying to give the quarterback a little credit, and they're still going at it. Right. They don't see that. Because you know why? They're so butthurt any conversation that you have about Jalen. I'm telling you, Nick puts that guy in the rear. And he makes him a caboose because he doesn't know how to coach him. So what do you do when you don't know how to coach him? You put limitations on the player. Can't throw across the middle? We're not going to call any plays across the middle of the field. It's either Jalen Hurts can't throw across the middle or Nick doesn't want to do it. You tell me. Which is it? Is it that Hurts doesn't want to throw across the middle? Or Nick doesn't want him to? Pick one, because it is only one. Pick one. Okay? Pick one. Well, guess what, RC? Every big-time quarterback in the NFL threatens the middle of the field because they have the skill to throw it across the middle. So it's either Nick or it's Jalen. Pick one. Pick one. Who doesn't want to throw across the middle of the field? And you will have your answer. Who doesn't want to threaten the middle of the field? Jalen or Nick? I don't either. I don't either. I am not talking about Josh fucking Allen. Pick one. Who doesn't want to throw across the middle of the field? And you'll answer your topic. And the only question that we've asked in 3 weeks that you'll answer. Who doesn't want to throw across the middle of the field? The last 4 years. Rasputin. And again, look at how these guys start circling around. I think we're the one that coined the phrase Jalenites. I think actually you guys did in here. Because we were talking about all you guys. And I think some of you guys in here came up with the phrase Jalenites. You bet it's a great question. If Mannion is the evil genius, he'll design the offense around the quarterback's strengths. I guess time will tell. Jerry, where has he coached an RPO guy in his life? Kellen Moore never coached an RPO guy, so he didn't coach Hurts. He took the ball out of his hands. Seals, I don't disagree with you, my brother. I just think all these changes are because how poorly the offense has been the last 2 years. I think the changes are coming because the offense is overrated and old. Okay, here. 77% completion. Over the middle says he can. But positive stats don't matter. So if he can, you're saying it's Nick who doesn't want to go across the middle. Is that right? Is it that Nick putting Hurts in a box? Yes or no? Is it that Nick saying quarterback can't do this? I'm going to put him here. If you guys tell me they build a game plan to the quarterback's skill, is it this Nick going? Well, I think his skill is not going across the middle. You can't contradict yourselves. Look at this. The middle pass game isn't a fucking magic bullet either. Okay. Why don't they go across the middle of the field? Simple. Let Reyes answer this. Why do they not, since 2022, have only thrown 87 passes across the middle of the field, Reyes? If he's good at it. And who made that decision not to throw the ball across the middle? Who made that call? And I'm agreeing with you. He's good at it. Well, who made the decision for Hurts not to throw the ball across the middle of the field? Nick, or is that Jalen? And you're really going to answer a lot here on how Nick sees the quarterback. Get this. Because they stacked the box centrally to stop Miles, Saquon, Hurts, carving them up as a first. Why in the passing game don't they throw across the middle of the field? That's your answer? And by the way, that didn't matter in 24 when they were healthy. They ran them over. Wow. Shows you right here. This guy can't answer a simple question, guys. And I agree with you, JoJo. It's Nick. Nick is the one. Okay? Nick shouting? I don't have to shout facts. Here. Folks, since 2022, any numbnuts like Reyes can do this. How many of Jalen Hurts' 2,400 career passes career passes have gone to the middle of the field? $99 out of 2,400 passes have gone to the middle of the field. High success rate. Okay. Well, I'll ask you one last time. Who made that decision that the game plan shouldn't have throws to the middle of the field? Hurts or Nick? Who made that call? Dude, you also have to look at routes to receive. Get this. Oh, my God. Folks, if you take the middle of the field out, do you not think you become predictable throwing to the numbers? And that's how they've caught up with the Eagle offense, is because their predictability of not going across the middle of the field. Okay? Okay, Rasputin? Who made that call? Who made that call not to attack the middle of the field? Let's say I agree. He's good at it. Who made that call? And then you'll find out what Nick thinks of Jalen. And he thinks he's a caboose. Because he takes the heart of the field away on Jalen Hurts and expects Hurts, and he has, to win games throwing exclusively to the Y and Z. And rarely uses the tight end. Get this. Okay, so then I think Hurts and Sirianni agree on the risk averse. Well, then why are they changing? You can't answer these questions, dude. And don't tell me they caught up. You don't catch up with Myles Garrett. Dude, nobody caught up with Myles Garrett after 14 years on what he does well and what he doesn't do well. Nobody catches up on Mahomes on how great he is. Nobody catches up with Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry's a one-dimension running back. Derrick Henry runs you the fuck over. He's not slick. He doesn't catch passes. He's a one-dimensional player running you over. You don't think the league is caught up with that? That's called being better than you. That's just called being better. Look at this guy. He's got to use dumb words again. You don't have an indication a new offense won't be risk averse. Really? Really? You don't, huh? 2 wide receivers drafted, the first 2 picks, hiring of a coordinator that's never coached an RPO guy. You're right. I'm sure. So wait a minute. According to Reyes, you're also going to hire a coordinator who's never done RPOs before to run RPOs. Is that right? Hey, that sounds like a successful model. Let's hire a coordinator to teach Jalen Hurts shit he's never done in his life because he's been a pocket guy in the West Coast. But let's teach him RPO. That's M. Reyes' thought. Think of that. You're going to teach a guy something he's never done as a player even or coached. And then you're going to ask the quarterback to do shit also he's never done. Is that what you're saying? Wow. Well, here. Hey, Reyes, one thing is for sure. So if they're not going to teach him how to run the West Coast, what does Sean Mannion know about RPO? He's never coached it. He's never run it. He's never had a player that's ever done it. He's never been around a player that's done it. So it's one or the other, dude. They're changing the offense because the quarterback sucks, and they're going to move on after the season. The reason they didn't want Hurts using the middle of the field, they were worried he's going to cause a turnover, okay? So then that's Nick putting him in the caboose. Get this. So we're talking about a whole lot of nothing. Sean Mannion, never coaching an RPO, teaching a player who's never run a West Coast. So you've got 2 contradictions there. What does Sean Mannion know about Jalen's skill? He's never coached it. We saw what happened with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore didn't know how to coach RPO, so what did he do? Gave the ball to Barkley. Smart thing to do. Hey, I don't know how to coach that kind of style. I'm going to go and run the ball. This is Nick. Nick has made Hurts a caboose because he didn't know how to coach him. But to Zander's point, he said this. Well, we're not going to threaten the middle of the field because we might have high turnover because I don't think the kid can do it on a consistent basis. We're going to throw to the numbers, and we're going to go as long as we can with our run game. And now that our offensive line is getting a little older and more banged up, now we got to open up the offense a little more, and we're going to have to tolerate some turnovers. That's what they're saying. Don't you see it? The O-line is starting to go the other way. They're not going to get healthier. You think you get healthier as you get older? In what realm of life does that happen? Where you get healthier as you get older, especially in a game like this. Okay? 9 coordinators, well, time to move on, people, are losing their job, Eagle fans. So from 21 to 26, Jalen has made no improvement as quarterback. No. He still doesn't throw on time. He's not an anticipation thrower. He can't throw across the middle of the field, according to your coach. No. I think he's gotten smarter as a player. But as a quarterback, no. He has not improved on one aspect of his pre-draft. Again, I hate to keep doing this to you guys, but here's his pre-draft. His pre-draft scouting report. And it's not changed. Pre-draft Jalen Hurts scouting report. And it's not changed. And they wrote about this in the 2020 draft. Here. Has issues sustaining rhythm as a passer. That's still there. And does it so with so many off-schedule throws. Like, he's not a rhythm passer. Inconsistent patience, allowing routes to develop. That's still there. Slow recognition of early throw opportunities. Holds onto the ball too long. Leaves slants and crossovers behind targets. That's a constant. It's one of the reasons that AJ's in New England. Throws behind the receiver. Misses checkdowns and opportunities for harder throws. They don't have a checkdown game in Philly. Needs to get better at trusting himself in the pocket. That's not improved. Quick to drop his eyes when pressure mounts. More likely to avoid it than to climb the pocket. All of these things have not left him. Every single one of those 2020 pre-NFL draft comments about Hurts still exist. So I know that Jalen has had constant turnover at the OC position, but how much of this, of his lack of development do you attribute? Oh, completely. Dude, if you would have went from Shane to another Shane 2.0 to a Shane 3.0, you may have Lamar Jackson as a guy getting better with Jalen Hurts as a passer. Yes, I said it before. If you had a coach that was going to put players and coaches around him that led to his skill set, this is on Nick. Nick hires coordinators that can work with him, not work with Jalen. What coordinator has he hired that you thought was the best coordinator to help Jalen Hurts' skill? Name me one. Let's see if you guys... As a matter of fact, I'll take this out. Name me a coach that they hired for Jalen Hurts to help Jalen Hurts as a passer, not named Shane Steichen. Okay. Brian Johnson. And you know what? They should have kept Brian Johnson. They could have developed him as a coordinator. But the Eagle organization and the owner and Nick have to have excuses. Not for Hurts, for themselves. When you fired Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo, you made excuses for Nick and for the organization. You don't develop coaches. I mean, as soon as you think Kellen Moore, what did Kellen Moore learn in Philly? Not to give the ball to Hurts? Because Tyler Shook, they threw the ball all over the yard. Sills, we will never know how good Hurts can be because Nick stunted Hurts' growth since... Yes, that's my point. Is it the league catching up? Here's this topic. Is it the league catching up with the RPO? Or did Nick just not know how to coach Jalen? I think it's the latter. Nick didn't know how to coach him. That's why he turned over the play calling to Shane. He didn't know how to coach him. He had never coached that style. And then Shane said, I can. And Shane can. Shane's their best coach they've had as an offensive coordinator. He's their best coach. And by the way, and it's not close because he had the big. Would we not agree that Shane Steichen had the biggest impact on Jalen Hurts' career? Shane is the one that got Jalen paid. He's not been the same since Steichen left. And they added Barkley. Do you know what Barkley becomes? That's Nick's. That's Nick's excuse. Well, we got a great running game. I don't want the quarterback throwing across the middle of the field. So when you got Barkley, you decided not. How about this? How much do you think Nick's offense hurts the running game when they know you're throwing to the numbers 95% of the time? That's a great question. Since 2022, what percentage, and this ain't on Hurts, what percentage of passes are to the sidelines? For the Eagles offense? I wouldn't even say Jalen. Get this. You've got to the sidelines, okay? You're talking 70% of your passes to 90%, depending on what year it is, okay? To the sidelines. And right, Twiz, you're right. It's like 90%. The league didn't catch up with the pass and the RPO. They caught up with Nick's predictability. They caught up with Nick. Twiz, they didn't catch up with Jalen. They caught up with Nick. They caught up with Nick. Not Hurts. Hurts showed you he could throw across the middle of the field. Nick don't want him to. They'd rather throw 90% of the passes to the numbers, which becomes predictable. Do you guys understand? I'm defending Hurts here. I'm defending Jalen. Now, to Nick's side of it, Nick is using Howie's roster to the best of his ability. But here's the problem that Nick runs into. If you run into a coordinator that can't utilize all of Howie's pieces, it's a disaster. 23, 25, it's a disaster. But if you get health, do you know the number one thing that really is the same thing about that 22 team and the 24 team? Hey, RC, am I right when I say this? The 22 and the 24 team, did every single player, except for Nakobe Dean, that started the season in September, didn't they play in the Super Bowl? Didn't they? Didn't they play in the Super Bowl? That's only in Nakobe, right? So they had great health in 22 and 24, right? Well, when you didn't have great health and the talent in the roster wasn't that great in 23, like at linebacker, and he started seeing youth of the defense, right? Well, what happened? They couldn't answer it because Nick doesn't have answers for that quarterback. Nick has done an absolutely, horrible job. Seals, you've never called plays as a defensive coordinator. Would you bring a former player, 5-fan slight, hope or no? Seals, you never called plays as a defensive coordinator. Would you bring a former player? Yes. I would bring former play callers in. If I had never called, I think that one of the greatest things that Sean Mannion has going for him is that Josh Grizzard's in the building and he's called plays. And so has Nick. That's why Nick's influence on this offense is going to be high. They've got 2 play callers in the building that are going to be working with Sean Mannion. That's not a horrible thing. Get this. Hurts is a caboose that can't throw over the middle. I'm defending him. Correct. Because we've just realized that Nick is the one that says, I don't want him throwing across the middle of the field. And Nick has made him a caboose. He's not telling you exactly what I said. I'm defending Jalen in the fact that Nick put him there. Hurts didn't put himself there. Yes. That's Nick putting him there. Like I told you guys, at the end of the day, it's either Nick saying, don't throw across the middle of the field. Get this. Both sides you're at. Okay, wait, folks. Because I want to make it clear. Nick Sirianni has put Jalen Hurts as a caboose. And I agree he's a caboose. But that's not by Jalen's doing. That's by Nick's doing. Because they don't think he could throw across the middle of the field. That's on Nick. By the way, you can't dispute it. 2,400 passes, 99 throws. It's on Nick. Kim, can you imagine that? The Jalen Hurts like M. Reyes, he can't see that. You got less than 100 throws and 2,400 passes. Either Jalen doesn't want to do it or Nick doesn't want him to. Pick one. Why is that so hard for you to fucking understand? And if Nick did it, Nick makes him a caboose. What are you not following? Remember, Sills did have a beef with Nick. I honestly think Jalen is going to listen to Mannion more than Nick because it's a contract year. Sills, I think bringing a new coordinators like the Cowboys and Eagles is good for the league. Widen the pool, who got fired last, to be our new guy. I see you came to your senses today, buddy. It's been Nick the whole time. Marshall, why is it so hard for people like Reyes and everyone in here to see this, Nick? Or Marsh, it's either Hurts doesn't want to throw across the middle of the field. Jalen can always go back and say, well, I've had success when I do it. But somebody's not drawing up a game plan to throw the ball across the middle of the field. Who is that? What's the one common denominator with all these coordinator changes? Nick. So what did they do this year? Marshall, they caught up with Nick, not Jalen. You don't catch up with players. Nobody's going to catch up with Josh Allen. Nobody's going to catch up with Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. You don't catch up with those guys. Those guys are great players. Nobody's catching up with how to block Myles Garrett. You think anybody's catching up with how to block Myles Garrett? Give me a break. You really think that? When you're a fucking great player, I don't care who you think you are. You're not blocking Reggie White. You're not blocking Lawrence Taylor. Nobody catches up with you. You're a great player or you're not. I mean, here, Hurts didn't really need the middle of the field. to have 1K receivers last year. And the 24th ranked offense in passing. Holy shit. Guys, what a denier. Bro, your answers actually validate every fucking thing I say. You're so bad. What a horrible way of looking at a football team. If you want to know what not to look at in a football game, watch Reyes's answers and questions and all the things he says. I've never seen a more ill-informed football fan than M. Reyes. I've never seen anything like it. Like, I don't know what game he watches. Nobody on the planet would even think that. And by the way, I've got tremendous people around the league who, get this, think highly of my way of looking at football. Bro, I'm good with how I see the game. Who do you have to validate those shitty takes of yours? Your mom? Sills really thinks Hurts can't throw. Then how do you explain all the games he's played and diced up the secondary? Luck, you're telling me that Super Bowl performance were just luck? No. Then explain this to me. How does Nick Foles carve up the New England Patriots, but when he's asked to play as a consistent quarterback, he can't do it? Paul, I'll ask you the same questions about Nick Foles. What happened to Nick Foles? Nick carved up the New England Patriots secondary, won a Super Bowl MVP, actually played better than any quarterback in Super Bowl history and Eagle history. What happened to him? What happened to him as a consistent player? What happened to Foles? How come Foles couldn't do it every week? What happened? What happened to Nick? Nick carved up a defense. Nick won the MVP. Nick by far has had a better performance than Hurts in any Super Bowl. What happened to him? What happened to Nick? Nick couldn't do it on a week-to-week basis. Was that luck? I don't know. It's clear to me that Nick Sirianni values ball protection over passing stats. Nick tells Jalen not to put the ball in harm's way, and Jalen follows. Okay, so then it's Nick putting Jalen in the caboose seat, not to throw across the middle of the field because of risk averse. So you're saying that's Nick's call. I happen to agree with you. Right? I happen to agree. So has Nick developed him or protected him? And what I mean by that is we're going to run the ball. Okay, Paul, you just said then it's Nick that makes Hurts the caboose in how people perceive him around the league. Is that right? Somebody's the... I don't think Nick knows how to coach an RPO quarterback. That's why you don't hire RPO coordinators. And I think that's also why you hire no-name coordinators. You know why? Nick can have the number one influence. This starts and stops with Nick. And then you turn around and you go, well, Sills, has Nick been wrong? No. Nick putting Hurts as the caboose was the right call. But now the Eagles think that the league is caught up with Nick. How could they catch up with Jalen? There's other RPO quarterbacks in the league. I mean, there's other guys. I don't see why Z can't see this. Has no answers for anything. Either a coordinator bail him out or a scapegoat. Then he's been pretty obvious to me where the problem lies. I don't think Zander doesn't see that. And by the way, he'll be on at 3:30, and also too, we got Battle Royale today. He's not blind to that. I've heard him. Marsh. He gives Nick, you know what he gives Nick the credit for? Putting Hurts in the box. Because it's resulted in 50 and 18. Can't dispute that. That resume of Nick's 50 and 18 is just as important to him as it is to Jalen. And to Jalen's credit, he's gone like this. Okay. Nick is a winner. He's a better win percentage than that fraud Jimmy Johnson. So you think then that Nick's a better coach than Andy Reid? He's got a better win percentage than Andy Reid or Bill Belichick or Chuck Noll or Don Shula. You think Nick's a better coach than Don Shula and Andy Reid? Is that what you're saying? Because he's got a better win percentage? Is that what you're saying? So guys like Nick and George Seifert, who have a better win percentage than Parcells, in your opinion, are better coaches. How many times have we heard Jalen say he wants the straitjacket off? Get this, Marsh. Jalen has been sending smoke signals out for 5 years. It's the coach putting him in the caboose. You know, I started thinking about this last night. What do you mean catching up with the RPO? Nobody caught up with the RPO in Buffalo. And I'm not suggesting to you that Jalen is as talented as Allen or Lamar, but not catching up with the RPO. They caught up with Nick. Reyes, I'm sick of going to you, man, because you know what? I'd be laughing my ass off. And you know what? Every time I go to you, it's like a brain cell fucking evaporates for me on my football knowledge. It's chills every game, every single time I watch this. Still, after 8 years, nobody was beating this team. And now you're changing. I'm glad all the questions about Jalen can't do will be answered this season. Yes. Nobody caught up with the RPO. The Eagles moved off of it, which was dumb. Right. Because the coach did. They've never hired another RPO guy. Am I right? They've never hired an RPO coach to help Jalen Hurts. And all the great skilled things he does. Run the ball, throw the ball, sprint out. They don't do any of that. Have they developed a check down game for him? No. Who's that on? Who's that on? They never developed a screen game. Who do you think that's on? That they never developed a screen game. Seals, me personally, I thought Noah was one of the best talent evaluators we've seen. Joe Green was only first rounder on defense. Also, Steelers were a laughingstock before he showed up in January of 1969. Correct. Chuck Noll's one of the greatest coaches in history. Talent-wise, coaching-wise, there's nobody better than Noll. Lombardi, he's up there with him. He's up there with Paul Brown. Thank you, Kyle. The only RPO quarterback who doesn't get hurt is Josh Allen. That's right. I highly doubt Nick don't believe in Jalen. He's hesitant to pull the trigger. He always been conservative. You just read his report and you're still blaming Nick. Hold on. Like I said, wait a second. Blaming Nick? There's 2 points to this, dude. Nick doesn't think Jalen Hurts can throw across the middle of the field, or he'd have a game plan for it. So he puts Hurts in the caboose seat. Wants the running game. Leaves Vic alone. That's his remedy in the formula. They've caught up with Nick, not Hurts. And now Nick is like, I got to spread the ball around. Or this is not going to, our offense is not what it was. Nick knows what he has with the personnel. Do you know what I think they're doing in Philly? They know that offensive line's getting older. The more coaching you have and the more you're talking scheme, the more that's a problem. Okay? Do you understand that? The more you talk scheme, the more you're getting away from your talent. You weren't talking scheme in 24. You lined up and killed people. Run right, run left. Run right, run left. B gap, B gap, A gap. B gap, A gap. B gap, A gap. Barkley hitting his head on the goalpost. You didn't have coaching schemes talking about that. Run right, run left. Run right, run left. That's not scheme. That's kicking people's ass. That's not a scheme. That's being better than them. When you're starting to talk about West Coast screens, throwing across the middle of the field, the more you start doing that shit, the more you're getting away from your football roster and the talent on your roster. The more you start talking more about Mannion and Nick and all that, getting away from what you do best. You know what that is? My guy's better than your guy. You know, that's what the Eagles had the last 4 years. My guys were just better than your guys. We were just better than you. We're just better. I don't need a scheme for that. I don't need a boxing plan. I don't need anybody to come up with screens and West Coast bullshit. I'm just better than you. And you can't stop me. They start talking schemes and shit. Now you're totally getting away from what you are. You know what that is? It's just beating people's asses at the point of attack. And you're not doing that anymore. And this year's going to be a really tell-all on whether or not you can still beat people up. Seals, tell your audience the number one reason Hurts doesn't have an extension and why Howie decided now was the time to make these changes, and why he hired the first-year play caller with a 50-18 record. Dude, those are the hardest questions to answer. Hurts doesn't have a contract extension going into a year where he's going to have $20 million. Dude, if I'm Clutch Sports and Nicole Lynn, this coming offseason is going to be interesting. They're not sending him on the field with $20 million in guarantees and signing what? A 1 year where you add money to it? No freaking way. That's kind of putting a Band-Aid on it. They're going to want a 3-year deal, dude. Hey, yeah, let's add some more money. Let's add another $30 million to it, you know, just to keep them. They're not going to do that. Hey, yeah, so Jalen Hurts is going to play for $20 million and guarantees next year? No way. No way. And if they were committed to the guy, he would have it. Hey, I want to, before we go on to the next topic, by the way, Zander's going to join us at the bottom here of the hour here. So let me do this. Let me ask you something about this offense. I'm not even going to go on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm not going to start with the quarterback here. Lane Johnson. He's not in his prime. He's past his prime. What about Barkley? You think Barkley's in his prime? Or past his prime? You think Barkley's in his prime or past his prime? What do you think? You think Saquon Barkley's in his prime right now? Or is he past his prime? I think he's past his prime. Do you think that Landon Dickerson's in his prime? You think Landon Dickerson's in his prime? You think Landon's in his prime after 13 surgeries? You think he's in his prime? I don't think Landon's in his prime. I think that guy's past his prime. And not because of his age, because of his 13 surgeries. Is Mulata still in his prime? I think so. Mulata, prime. Smitty, prime. You think Goddard's in his prime? I think Goddard's past his prime. So let's take a look at this for a second. Lane's past his prime. Barkley's past his prime. Landon's past his prime because of injuries. And Goddard's past his prime. Mulata's got prime. Now let's get to the guy here. You think Hurts is past his prime? Or do you think he's in his prime? So you got, in my book, you got 4 key players. Goddard, Landon, Barkley, and Lane. Past their prime. No? You know? Watch this. Lane's not past his prime? Well, how many games do you think he plays this year? He missed 8 last year, counting the playoffs. How many games do you think he plays this year, RC? I say you're lucky to get 12 out of him. Then he got 17, right? What do you think, 17? Right, RC? Plus 3, 20 games? I think he's going to get 20 games out of Lane, right? Can't play 17 ball games. You're past your prime, dude. And by the way, if you don't think Goddard's past his prime, why'd they draft a tight end? Oh, that doesn't count. Yeah, I know. You know what that also comes down to? It's like last year when I told you that they drafted Jahad Campbell to replace N'Kobe. No, they didn't. Yeah, they did. His legs are going, he doesn't have the other skills to overcome it past his prime. So you got a lot of this. And by the way, we opened the show. You're paying $253 million for 4 guys in that offense past their prime. And the national media is a year behind. 253. The Eagle roster is going through a massive change right now in front of your eyes, and you don't see it. You're paying $83.5 million this year for your defense. $253.5 for your offense on a 301 salary cap. And you got 4 dudes over there on that side of the ball past their prime. That's why you're in a transition year. Howie's trying to transition the team on the fly. And you lose AJ, which really kind of throws the whole thing to the side here. You didn't have to get rid of AJ. You needed to make that work, but you didn't want to. Was it because of money? Keep up the great work, Sales. Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate that. How Markel Bell turned into a great player. I hope so. I'll be rooting for him. Best sports play was Jordan Davis getting sports history, reaching 18.59 as a player over 330 pounds, athletically absurd to witness when he chased down Josh Allen. Says Howie, with the 26th draft, really is banking on wishful thinking to make up for AJ's departure. Both Lemon and Stowers didn't play in a West Coast scheme in college. Very true. And without a West Coast quarterback, too. I think after 23, Nick made a decision to micromanage the offense. I agree with you. 24 season, within 4 weeks, Nick forced Kellen to cut down passing attempts from 30 to less than 18. Major overreaction. Yeah, but it won. That's to Zander's point. Wait, whoa, okay. Major overreaction. Ricardo, do you not agree with this take? Nick sacrificed Jalen Hurts' development at quarterback and utilized the strengths of the team, knowing full well the quarterback's strengths weren't going to carry the team to the Super Bowl. The O-line and the running game were going to be essential in the success of the team. Correct? That's kind of how it played out. 2,900 passing yards, 18 touchdowns. They took the ball almost exclusively out of his hands in 24. And Barkley had, hey, if I'm not mistaken, let me add this up. How many total touches in 2024 did Barkley have? And then let's compare that to Hurts. How many reps, snaps, did Barkley have, counting the postseason, in 2024? Barkley had 952 snaps. He had 952 snaps. Let's see how many times he touched the ball. Touched the ball. 482 touches he had. Let's see here. See Hurts. How many times did Hurts touch the ball? How many touches did Hurts have? Touches did Hurts have counting postseason? Jalen Hurts that year in 2024. How about this? He only had 125 touches in the 2024 NFL postseason. How many did Barkley have in that postseason? Just alone. He had 140. I mean, the guy who touched the ball exclusively that year in 24 almost was Saquon. They have a value stats to bring down the most athletic cerebral quarterback ever. They have value stats to bring. I'm not sure what that is. Barkley's legs were dead last year, but they refused to give fresher leg running backs more carries. Yeah. You know why? When you pay somebody, you play them. So let me go here now. I was really going to start my show with this. To be honest, Sills says one thing and walks back on it constantly. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Walks back on what? Dude, I've never wavered on anything. I've said from day one, you're coaching the guy wrong after. Bro, I'm not going back on this shit. So, NFL executives came out today with your wide receiver listing. And here's what executives think of the wide receivers in the league. This goes down pretty much my list. We did it yesterday because I knew Jeremy Fowler was coming out with his list today. Here's what executives. Jamar Chase, number one. Not a shocker. Justin Jefferson, number two. JSN, 3. Puka, I like him as number 1, but okay, 4. Ahmad St. Brown. These are all the guys I had. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Nico Collins, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams. And here's the honorable mentions. Malik Neighbors, Evans, Zay Flowers. I had him in my top 10. Right here, look. Here's Zay Flowers. Catch and run, start and stop is elite. Awareness where people are when he catches the ball is exceptional. You got Tyreek Hill. I think that's a reputation. Drake London, Jameson Williams, and also receiving votes, you got Alec Pierce, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, there's Devontae, and Brian Thomas from Jacksonville, Jalen Waddle, and Chris Olave. That sounds right. So let me get this right. The executives don't think your guy's a franchise number 1 receiver, and nor do they think your quarterback is. Okay? But they think you have the second best roster in football, but you're not elite at the 2 most important positions, wide out and quarterback. That's pretty interesting. And by the way, they still think you're elite. Where? At the running back spot. You don't find that on how Nick sees your team too? I mean, the guy looks at, and the NFL executives look at your offense, though. Devontae's not elite. Hurts is not elite. Your running back is, and your O-line is. How is that not how they've operated the last 4 years? That's how they look at you. They look at your trenches and your run game. Shit, you got great grades all over the place on defense. You don't have any grades at tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, but you do O-line. And you're trying to tell me you think you have an elite offense? when nobody in the league thinks you do? Surely from a skill set position, there's no executives that think you have any skill at any of the skill positions. Tight end, receiver, quarterback. And by the way, these are all those executives that they threw a survey at. I didn't say that. They did. Do I think Devontae's better than what they think? Yeah, I do. Do I think Hurts is a little better than what they think? Yeah, I do. Do I think that Goddard's a little better? Probably so, a little better. Better than 19th. So you've got the 19th best receiver, the 22nd best receiver, 19th best tight end, and the 17th best quarterback. And you're elite? According to NFL executives? They don't think you are. I mean, hey, by the way, that's what you're looking at when it comes to market value. They don't think Devontae Smith's a number one. The Eagles' offseason changes could give Devontae Smith a clear path to a career-best production as Philadelphia reshapes its passing game. How are you going to reshape your passing game when you still have the same passer? So you're going to reshape your quarterback, you mean? Is that right? You're reshaping your quarterback. You're not reshaping your passing attack. Because if you're reshaping your passing attack, you're reshaping your quarterback. Hey, don't run anymore, throw it. Okay. Yeah, because we've seen that work. I kind of don't understand the late round Cam Williams, Miles Hinton, and Stout is gone. Bill could be okay, and Kendall could start games, but have to replace Lane's potential. Landon sooner than later. Hey, Forrest, I don't think you have Lane Johnson's replacement on your football team now. You're going to have to go in the top 10 to find that guy. Lane was the third player taken, and he lived up to it. I mean, dude, Jordan Mailata is a great football player. He ain't Lane. And Mailata's a really good player, having never made a Pro Bowl. I mean, I think that's ridiculous, but get this. He's in a tough room. He plays left tackle. You're not making first, second, or third team when you've got the guy in Los Angeles with the Chargers. You've got Tristan Wirfs. You got Trent Williams and Penei Sewell. You're not getting that spot. The chances of Mailata winning and being named All-Pro at left tackle is like 5%. Agree, Sales. They're just guys. You're going to need to ready to go now in talent. Fred Johnson was just fair. Yeah, he's a good swing tackle. That's right. You're going to need ready to go now guy. You're good like Devontae. I need a guy that could just plug in there and let's go. Okay? You should go back and watch 24 highlights whenever you question our team. The 2024 team has nothing to do with your football team right now. They have nothing to do with it. That's a completely different unit. How do you tie something from 20? What does 24 have to do with 26? Nothing. Different coordinators, different skilled guys, older players, banged up players. What are you talking about? I still love how we ship AJ off and people say we're better off without him. No accountability for the fucking quarterback. Fred Johnson, awesome for depth, but if he starts a handful of games, that's correct. I like Fred. I think Fred's a good football player. All right, with Fred. Okay? You're going through a massive, in front of your eyes, change in how the offense and defense are being constructed. Dude, if there is a coach in your building that is worth the money he is getting, Vic Fangio is taking an $83 million payroll of defensive guys. And man, that guy is worth every single cent. I would beg that guy to never retire. I would keep him on as a consultant when he does want to retire to get his input. $83.5 million is what the Eagles are spending. It's going to change. But get this. Now you're starting to get question marks on defense. Should I pay Carter or not? Get this. You let AJ go, and here's your second best conversation you're having now. Do I pay Carter? You've gone from having A.J. Brown on your team, one of the top 10 wide receivers in football, to now a decision of getting rid of him and do I pay Carter? You think you're going forward or backwards? When you're making, and I got to decide what I'm going to do with my quarterback after this year. What's the positive heading into this year? Hoping you're healthy, okay? Hoping Mannion works, okay? Hoping Barkley gets back to being Barkley, and hoping Hurts picks up the new offense. Is that right? What's the for sure thing? Devontae. I think Devontae is a good player. I think Mulata playing well. I think that's going to be a for sure thing. You don't have any givens on offense anymore. You got more givens on defense. Bond's going to play great. Cooper's going to play great. Q's going to play great. Those guys are going to play great. You know what? My question on Devontae still, can he be a one? NFL executives don't think so. Me, here's mine. I have less questions on Q, Cooper, and Bond. I'm not even bringing them up, if you notice. I have no questions about them. There's zero questions on whether this guy could do this or that guy could do that. Zero. Says, if you had to see one thing you'd like this offense to succeed at, what would it be besides the run game? Being more efficient at attacking the hash marks, attacking the middle of the field. That would open up Devontae and Lemon if you didn't become so predictable at the numbers. Devontae's definitely better than McLaurin, that's for sure. That's not for sure. That's another hypothetical. McLaurin gets CB1 every game. He gets Q lined up on him. He's not getting Tariq Woolen. He's not getting Adoree Jackson. He's getting Quinyon Mitchell. He's getting Patrick Surtain. He's getting Derek Stingley. Devontae doesn't get those guys. It doesn't play against them dudes. Enough talent on defense with Vic is now year 3. Hearing Bond say it can go up another level. Guys like him, Campbell, Q, Cooper, Davis, the leaders play good. could be a top 5 defense, depending on what the offense does on third down, though. Dude, if you're still the conveyor belt on third down, I don't care what talent you have on defense. You're going to get worn out, and you're going to be in a bad position at the end of the year where a team like San Francisco can beat you. Stop talking about 24. It's irrelevant. Sills, if Hurts has a great season, I would actually think about sending Nick packing and hire Mannion as a head coach. They're not doing that. The Eagles' ego would never let them do that. We hired Nick. Nick's our guy. They're not firing Nick Sirianni because they believe they could go out and find another Sean Mannion. Because that's how they operate. Hey, dude, do me a favor, okay? Think about this for a second. They're not going to change the way they do business. The Eagles' defense forced Seals, the 2000 Ravens hold the NFL for points allowed in the regular season, 165. Can Vic's defense in 26 come close if healthy? Dude, in 2000, let me show you something. 2000 Ravens. Let's see something. Who were the leading rushers? Who were the leading rushers in 2000 in the NFL players list? Okay. So Jamal Lewis had 1,400 yards rushing. What team led the NFL in rushing? What team led the NFL in rushing in 2000 list? Okay. Let's see here. List 2000. What team led the NFL in rushing? Player. I want team. I think the Ravens did that year. Led the NFL in rush. I think I think the Ravens were in the top 5. My point is, Mr. Hill, they had a top 5 rushing attack and that great defense. If Vic Fangio is going to have a top 5 defense, you have to have a top 5 running attack. Because if you're down at 22, you're going to be 3 and out again. You'll be 3 and out. All right. Battle Royale at 4:30. Dude, I actually was defending your boy today. Okay? I was defending him. And I think you missed the point a little bit on Zander and how he sees Nick as well. I'm not going to speak for him. We're going to do that here in a second here. And no doubt, one of the biggest things as we're 2 weeks out, I'll ask you this, and I'm going to set it up for Zander before we bring him in. You guys keep telling me that the league caught up with the Eagles' offense That's like saying you caught up with Mike Tyson's right hand. Let me hook you up with something. Nobody caught up with the 24 Eagles. You know what they did? They were just better than you. You don't catch up with Derrick Henry. He runs you over, whether it's year 4 or year 11. He runs you over. Nobody catches up with Myles Garrett. You don't know how to block Myles Garrett. Nobody catches up with Myles Garrett. Well, Sills, hey, and they run the RPO in Baltimore and they run the RPO up in Buffalo. Sills, but those guys are a better skill, okay? So was it Nick that put Jalen in the caboose seat? 99 passes out of 2,400. It's either Hurts not wanting to go there or it's Nick not wanting him to. Pick one. So here's my good question. We're going to bring him in a sec. Did the league really catch up with the RPO? Or was it Nick not being able to coach Jalen Hurts? He gave up the play calling after the 5th week. Here's Shane. And every coordinator he's hired has been closer to his skill set than Hurts' skill set. I haven't seen him hire anybody to help Hurts. Have you? All right. With all that being said, our guy does a great job. Don't forget Battle Royale at 4:30. He is our man. Big Z, Zander Krause joins us now. How you doing, bro?
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
I am doing great. I think we've had a great conversation today, dude. I've actually defended your boy.
Well, there's some things to defend him on, and there's also some things you got to be accountable for. I think that's everybody. But, I think that's good. I'm happy to hear from the great Big Sills.
Here's why. I came up with this. That conversation that people say they caught up with an RPO is like saying you caught up with Mike Tyson's right hand. And Mike has to adjust and be more of a boxer instead of a guy who's going to knock you out like George Foreman. Nobody caught up with Derrick Henry. He does one thing. He runs you over. He doesn't. What do you think? He's going to turn himself into a pass catcher? He's not going to turn himself into a pass catcher. He's going to make highlight reels out of people. Don't you think it was Nick who basically put Hurts in that caboose seat? Hey, you made this comment here, Zander. You said this. Well, risk averse. I don't think the guy could throw across the middle. Well, guess what? That's either Nick going, we're not going to design plays to go across the middle. So it's either Hurts or it's Nick that don't want to do it. Because again, the final play against the 49ers, did that not tell you? Hey, we called this play. Jalen could have changed that play at the line of scrimmage against the Niners. He didn't. He went with what they were thinking. That leads me to believe he does believe in that risk averse. So Nick puts him in that box. The league didn't catch up with the RPO, Zander. They caught up with Nick. And that's why Nick, well, dude, why are you changing that?
Well, because remember, there was legislation that changed too in the NFL.
Baltimore and Buffalo don't change.
I know, but specifically on the man down field with the RPO, which has limited it much more so across the NFL. I mean, RPOs in the league are down a lot since 2022.
Those two guys still run that offense, though.
Well, all right. I mean, it's Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Are you of the belief that we have the same caliber of player?
Nope. And that's what Nick thinks. And that's why Nick. And that's why Nick puts more handcuffs on the kid. How many times have you heard him say this? Take the straitjacket off.
How much RPO decline in the NFL has happened in the last?
You got to ask the Bills and the Ravens questions. Not everybody has an RPO quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's declined for 3 straight years after peaking in 2023.
Okay, but when you have an RPO quarterback that runs, Buffalo and Baltimore run that because they have that skill set quarter. They're not telling Lamar and Josh not to run. Why would they do that in Philly?
Well, I mean, those players all. I mean, I have to look. I don't know enough about Baltimore and Buffalo's offense to be able to tell you how much or how little they've run it or how much it's changed. I mean, I watch the Eagles every single game, year in and year out, so we can clearly see the change in the offense. I don't really know what it is, to be frank with you, in Baltimore and Buffalo, the differences, but they're different players. Obviously, they have different play callers. You pointed out the wide receiver list, there was no Buffalo receiver there. I mean, there was a receiver for Lamar, there was a receiver for everybody else, two
You're
for
right.
Joe Burrow. No Buffalo receiver there.
No,
I didn't see one.
no, and there's like you
So,
said,
I mean, look, that's an offense that's
and there's
designed
no
for
receivers in Kansas City.
correct. So, I mean, look, it's in Buffalo, it's Josh Allen or bust. The Eagles don't have a roster like that. So
That's a
they've had
flaw.
it's a flaw for Buffalo.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. So the Eagles have had a little bit more off ramps than they have had. So I get where you're coming from, just from a sense of they've gotten away from it, but it was partly league. Like take a look at this graph, and I get it's different than the point you're making, but it is interesting to look at nonetheless. That's the RPO in the NFL right there. So 2016, it's down. It skyrockets through 2018, tapers a little, then goes way back up for the next 5 years. 2023, it peaks at 10.52% of plays, and then now it's back on the on the decline.
I think that has more to do with the style of quarterback that's being drafted.
The decline or the incline?
The decline.
Well,
I think you're getting more pocket. I mean, Fernando
Jaden
Mendoza.
Daniels. I mean,
Fernando. Yeah. Well, guess what? You think the Commanders want to run him less now after getting banged up after a year ago?
probably. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to run him. The one thing about Jalen that you can't say about Jaden is Jalen looks like he can take the physical nature of the style of play. So, I mean, look, it's a part of it, but again, I think it comes down to still, and I know it's simple, and I know it's something I've said over and over again. The coaches have to coach better, and the players have to play better. Now, I'm not in the building to be able to know how to divvy up that percentage perfectly on who it's on. But I know for the people who are in here who are Jalenites, when you have an elite player, I believe having an elite player comes with expectations of elite play. When you believe you have an elite head coach, and maybe that would be me, you have to have expectations that coach will have answers. So I think it falls on all of them to be better. And I also think the point remains that I made yesterday, that it's harder for an offensive coach to have answers when he's more limited in what he's able to call. If my quarterback, if the reports are true, he doesn't want to run play action. He doesn't want to be under center. He doesn't like to throw the ball over the middle of the field. So that's like chopping off your vocal cord and saying, hey, man, do a 4-hour show. You'd be like, well, dude, it's a little harder to do.
So that, in other words, the way you're putting that out there, the Eagles value Nick more than Jalen because he's doing more with less.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I just think it's harder for him. That. Well, no, I think that you're hard on him for not having answers. That's fair. It's harder to have answers when there's less options.
But do you know why? I think he leans on the talent more than his skill as a coach. That's my
absolutely. I absolutely agree with that.
That is my crux of my complaint on Nick.
And you think a coach like McVay and Shanahan doesn't? They have great talent, but they rely on also their ability. That's fine. I think that's fair.
I think they have schematic answers to get out of problems.
And do you think? Wait, real quick though, I think you're right, but do you think it's harder to have those schematic answers with the style of play that the Eagles have with the quarterback?
Well, that leads me back to the thing I just said. I think that the Eagles look at Nick and go, well, shit, he figured out the Rubik's Cube. The guy's limited at this, can't throw across the middle, can't have his – I mean, bro, think about what Nick has to deal with every game plan. You don't have a screen game. You don't have a check down game. You don't throw across the middle of the field.
Right.
And you
That's
won 50
tough.
games. Well, that means I value Nick more than Hurts because he figured it out.
Yeah, but I also don't think that maybe back to your point, do they have that type of confidence in Nick, even if he did have a different quarterback?
I think the changes this offseason have proven they do because they're going that lane.
Yeah, but they're still running it with Jalen.
Why are you going away from the kid instead of to the kid? And I mean Hurts. Why are you going away from him? I mean, everything you're doing, you're going away from. I'm with John. I don't get that.
Also, I mean, I think the other thing is, when you bring up those other coaches, and it's a fine comp. I mean, I understand why you criticize Nick when you look at what those coaches are able to do, but dude, those coaches are
elite.
They're elite, but remember, dude, what's his name? McVay traded away a number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff, who he's not Matthew Stafford, but he ran a similar type of game.
Top 3 offense when he traded him away.
I mean, that dude. That's why you always bring it up. And I'm like, dude, I don't know that they would have the lenience for this. Those are hard-headed coaches. And in a way, I think where John points out sometimes, there's an advantage to having a coach that's more willing to change for his players than there is a coach who wants to bend players to fit what he wants to do. And that's kind of what I see McVay and Shanahan.
Value then is higher in that building than what people think.
Well, I don't know if that's true yet. I have to see. I mean, I'll admit that that's true if they move on from the quarterback and not the coach, which I don't think will ever happen.
Who made the call to go to the run game in 24, you think?
Nick.
Okay, Nick.
Remember, Kellen Moore did not want to do that.
Okay. So Kellen Moore didn't want to do it because Kellen Moore didn't.
It's not that he didn't want to do it. It's that's not his style of offense, as you pointed out all throughout the year, right?
Sean Mannion has never coached an RPO guy. And that's even more of a wild one here. So you want to change the quarterback to do something the quarterback's never done and giving him an offensive coordinator who's never coached an RPO guy. Whew. Try plugging that into 2 sockets.
Well, that's why I think where John is right is this thing comes down to the run game. I mean, this team is going to go as far as the offensive line is going to take them. And there's good to that because if the offensive line's good, the Eagles will be good. The negative to that is more about the individual quarterback than it is about the team. So that's going to be
Hurts is not going to bail this offense out through the pass game. He's going to bail it out if he does through the run game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So the beautiful part about this year is this. Somebody is going to have a come to Jesus moment. It's going to have to either be the Jalenites or it's going to have to be people like me who think that the offense has stagnated because the quarterback hasn't evolved enough, to be able to create different offenses and build on what they've done, which is why they play this brand of football that relies on the running back and the offensive line. I mean, there's no other team in the league that's an elite team with an elite quarterback that puts the ball in everybody else's hands and says, we're going to figure out ways to win by taking the ball away from the quarterback more. So somebody, and it might be me, it might be Sills, it might be you, M. Reyes. I don't know who it might be, but somebody's gonna have to look at it in the face here this year. We'll find out who it is.
So, what do you make of the Eagles spending $253.5 million on this year's offensive talent? Well, on the other hand, they spend the lowest by far, actually, 83.5. And I'm going to ask you something as we go with that 253. And I wonder how much of this, Zander, is also playing into the organization's pivot when it comes to wanting to pay the defensive side of the guys. And I'll ask you this. So I'll get to Jalen in a second. You think Saquon Barkley's in his prime?
Yeah, I think he might even be on the other side of it, but he's still close to the top of his prime, I would say.
See, I don't.
You think he's on the other side?
I think he's I think he's rolling down that side now. I don't think he's in his prime. I think he's on the other side of it.
All right, I'm fine with that.
You think Lane Johnson's in his prime?
No.
Okay. You think Landon's in his prime?
No.
Mulata?
Mulata's in his prime.
I agree. You think Goddard's in his prime?
No.
Okay. So before I get to the quarterback, you got 4 dudes that I just named. And you and I can debate on Barkley. Of players not in their prime spending $253 in salary on that side of the football. Now let's add Hurts into this. You think Hurts is in his prime?
Nah, this is my number one. I don't want to call it a fear, but my number one concern is that we keep talking about this version of Jalen Hurts that was in NFL terms a long time ago. It's been 3 seasons of decline for Jalen Hurts. He's a dual threat player who traditionally and historically have not had as long of shelf lives in the NFL. You look at players like that are similar, just from a sense of dual threat. Lamar and Josh, will use those because those are the names we're using today. I think both of those 2 guys have developed as passers far more than Jalen Hurts has. And if he doesn't run to the level that he did in 22, which again, I'm so fucking sick of talking about. Like, think about that. What, dude? I think it was JD3. I see him in the chat right now. It was him this morning. He's like, the year's going to be 2035, and we're still going to be talking about 2022. It's like, that's yesterday's news. So my concern is is the dual threat player that is Jalen Hurts. Will he continue to ascend, or will he ever ascend again? I don't think he's ascended in the last 3 years. Any Jalenites in here do you honestly believe that he's ascended?
I think he's smarter.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about.
I know it's not. I know it's not.
That would apply though for a quarterback that wins the game from the pocket.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think he sees the game. But I don't think he has the skill. I think the way he processes and keeps the game slow is a tremendous asset to him. But I tell you what, man, for a guy that's got the least amount of talent for all the contending teams, he maximizes that least amount of talent to be able to win ball games. And there's an asset to that. There's a huge asset, but his margin of error, dude, like, do you agree with this statement? He can't throw your team out of trouble.
Consistently, he can't. He
Right.
has in spots.
Right. But he's not gonna throw your team out of trouble. Allen, Burrow, all those guys are gonna, if they're behind Mahomes, they're gonna throw their team out of trouble if they get.
Yeah, but remember, they have their problems too. I mean,
remember we just said.
I just don't like to compare to these other guys, and just because they do something different than Jalen means they don't have their problems. I mean, they all have their woes, don't they?
No, but if you're gonna pay Jalen that kind of money like those other guys, you compare those guys, because the one thing you're comparing with Jalen is his resume. Now,
individual skill sets. I mean, what you're right about is most NFL players are not paid on team accolades.
No.
I'd say 99% are not.
You're right.
So, that conversation is coming. And John said something funny this morning. He said, at the very end of the show, he said, boy, if some of these people, how like Joe Schoen, when he was talking about Saquon and Hard Knocks leaked it, John was like, boy, if some of Howie's conversations were leaked, these people would shit a brick.
Their shit.
Yeah, they would shit a brick. Because Howie, look, if you think Howie Roseman is as good of a GM as he is, and you don't think he's having conversations about the offense performing near the bottom of the league for 2 straight years, passing the football, I mean, I think you're in fairy tale land.
You are, because you know what? You just said something that's important. You think when Drew Rosenhaus gets on the phone with Howie Roseman, how he's blowing Jalen Carter to Drew Rosenhaus? You know what he's telling him? We love the kid, man, but he's got to act better. He's got to be better. He's got to play better. He's got to be a leader. He's got to do this. And get this, people would take that, what I'm saying right now, as a negative. Jimmy Johnson, I told you what he said. Worry when I'm not fucking talking about you, guy. That's when you're really in trouble. Is when I don't give a shit about you. Get this, how he gives a shit about you when he picks the phone up and goes, hey, I want to cut this deal with you, but I can't right now.
Right. And by the way, I'll remind you of this. The last contract came after 2022, where Jalen Hurts was unequivocally elite. I mean, he was an elite player. I don't think anybody questioned how meaningful he was to that football team.
And it was the quietest deal ever done for $250 million I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that thing popped up.
Boom, there it was, and he was making 50 for 2 weeks. He was the highest paid guy in the league. That leads me to this question.
But real quick, though, I just want to address this because this is a very common response from Eagle fans. Paul, what's up, Paul? I mean, he says, what are we talking about? Do we care about championships or passing numbers? High passing numbers don't win Super Bowls. But, Paul, you have to differentiate the two in terms of paying the player beyond this year. That's what the conversation is right now because his contract is about to expire.
That's my topic right here, Zander, and I'll ask you, and Paul, you answer. Can a bad passing game, can that really eclipse a winning resume? And what I mean by that is, can bad performance in the passing game, can that alleviate the winning? And can that erase the winning? Because it seems to me that's what's happening right now.
It depends on whether they believe. That's a tough question because I don't know. I'm not in Howie's
because his resume would tell you, hang on here. You can have fucking 7 yards passing. If I win the game, that's all that matters.
Yeah, but to your point, it will eclipse it if Howie believes something that you've said often, he's interchangeable. Just like you're probably right, they believe Nick is interchangeable. Just like they interchanged off Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson and went right back to a Super Bowl. So that answer is directly correlated with their level of belief in how important that individual was to that success. The successes can't be denied, and Jalen was a part of that. But do they believe that they can change that variable and still get the same result? Put a number in the equation and still get the same result? They might.
I mean, it just seems to me that a bad passing game is erasing the winning resume. The way they're acting.
I think you're dumbing it down to passing game. I think the
play of the quarterback.
Right. Okay. The play of the quarterback. I think that's more. I think that's fair. I mean, remember, look, where did this happen recently? It happened in Minnesota after Sam Darnold won 14 ball games and they didn't sign him because they had a rookie in waiting. And everything like you're saying right now, the success of the team, why would you not pay that quarterback? You just won 14 freaking ball games. Well, wasn't enough for them to give him the deal.
See, a guy, RC just, he doesn't see what's going on in front of him. So he was elite in 22. My God, that's like 5 years ago almost.
Yeah, but RC, an individual player regressing or getting better is not based off a team win or loss. A player can play, like, for example, RC3. Here's a better example for you. The team won 11 ball games last year, and the defense was really good, right? Well, does that mean Jalen Carter didn't regress? Did Jalen Carter have a better year last year because the defense was still good? He didn't. Individually, he didn't. So it's a different, I understand what you're saying, but it's a different metric. I mean, the personal thing is the individual player is different than the team accolade.
How about this? I'm going to show you something here, Zander. The last 2 years of John Elway's career, he threw for 3,600 yards, 25 touchdowns, and the last year he threw for 2,806, 22 touchdowns, and 10 picks. He wasn't elite anymore. The team around him with Terrell Davis was elite, and that's why won. And that's why they won the Super Bowls. They didn't win the Super Bowls because of John Elway. They won the Super Bowl because the roster was better. John wasn't an elite player anymore. He wasn't an elite guy. He was the caboose on those teams.
RC's response is the team can't win if Jalen regresses, and it doesn't matter how good the team is. Well, RC, I think you're wrong. I'm sorry.
I think you're dead wrong.
I think you're flat wrong.
You are, because you know why? Jalen Hurts was the second or third guy in that huddle in 24.
The modern Eagles.
Would it be fair to say, Zander, the top two players in that huddle in 24 were Barkley, Brown, and Hurts?
In 24?
Yeah.
Barkley, Brown, and Hurts?
Yeah.
The top three? No, I don't think that's fair.
Skill set wise, who would be better?
I put Lane, Mailata, Landon, and Cam over
skilled guys. Wide receivers, running backs, skill set guys.
Yeah, I'd probably put Davante over Jalen.
Okay. So he was the fourth best guy in the huddle.
Skill-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys. Hey, look. The Eagles did not win in 2024 because Jalen Hurts was some level like an elite player. I mean, he had a good Super Bowl, but are we going to lie to ourselves about the way that season went? I mean, that was the Saquon Barkley show.
Yeah, they are going to lie.
I don't know why, because when it was happening, everybody was giving Saquon all the flowers, rightfully so.
Yeah, they were lying. Here's another one here for you. Don't forget, Battle Royale at the bottom of the hour. So what do you make of this? So that our wide receivers, you and I think we had pretty much the same guys. Jamar Chase, I just had them in different order. Jefferson, JSN, Puka, I had number one. He's my favorite wideout. Ahmad St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Nico Collins, AJ's in this list. Devontae Adams, I think, is a little high, but okay.
Yeah,
Led the NFL. Yeah, I thought he was a little high there, but that's okay. Then you went through the honorable mentions. You had Neighbors from the Giants, who I think is a great player. Evans he's long in the tooth. I think he's on the back nine. Zay Flowers is one of my guys. Tariq Hill, I think that's a reputation comment. Drake London, I think he gets a lot of love because he had to go through all those shitty quarterbacks of a year ago. Jamison Williams, I think injuries have held him back a little bit. Then you get Alec Pierce, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson. Then there's Devontae. Then you got Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., Jalen Waddle, and Chris Olave. May I make a comment to everybody here? There's only 3 players that are on this list that are number 2 guys. And, it's T. Higgins, it's Devontae Smith, and it's who else? There was one more guy. And Jamison Williams. There's only 3 guys who are number 2s that are on this list. And that's how they look at Devontae right now. And to me, when you look at the quarterback being ranked 17th by executives and you got a wide receiver being 22nd, they really don't look at your skilled guys. Yeah, executives around the NFL. You got a 19th ranked tight end. You've got a 17th ranked wide receiver or a 22nd ranked wideout, and you got the 17th ranked quarterback. To me, that doesn't seem like executives think highly of your offensive skilled guys.
Well, I think to be fair, I don't think Devontae's been given as much opportunity as the other guys on that list.
Agreed.
Right. I mean, he was the number 2 in Philly and really not a passing team at all. So I don't think he's had the ability to showcase. I'd like to see what he does this year.
Great.
But you're right. I mean, that's how he's perceived right now. I think Devontae's got an opportunity to have a really big year. I do. Jalen has to have a big year for that to happen, but I think Devontae has a chance to have a really big year.
I think Sean Mannion has to have a big year for that to happen.
But I just don't want to crush Devontae for the ranking when I have a problem with the passing game in general, and then the number 2 receiver is not graded where he should be graded.
That's perception of how they look at him right now. That's a perception, Z. Executives don't see your quarterback as being elite or Devontae being elite. Now, can they play into that? Absolutely. Hey,
how much different?
Jalen Carter has played himself out of a 3-year deal right now.
Well, you brought up how much money they spend on defense. I mean, what'd you say?
$83.5 million.
All right, let's just do some mental math real quick. All right. 80. I'll start at 80 because it's
By the
easier
way,
to go him.
301 is the cap. You're at 253.5 on offense, 83.5.
All right. Is there any big contracts being shedded from the defense in the next year or two? No, right? No, right? Maybe Barnes, but I doubt it.
No.
All right. So real quick, let's just round up. We'll go to 85 million. Let's say 35 million for Carter. All right. We're at 120. Let's 35. Say $30 million for Quinyon Mitchell. I think it's going to be 35, but we'll say 30. That's 150. Let's say $25 million for Cooper DeJean. I think that's a little low. We're at 175. And let's say those are the big three probably. So just like that, you're at 100. So
you're not paying them. You're not paying Morrow.
If they pay Carter now.
And currently you have, what is it, 25 on the table right now for
Davis?
No, you got 25 on the table for Davis. That makes it 190.
No, it's like 20. Is it 20? What is it for Davis? 27?
Okay. So hold on. Is it 27? Okay, 27.
Well, no, I wasn't using anybody that's already signed.
What I'm saying is now you got to also add up Grenard at 25.
Oh, okay. Grenard is who you were saying.
So now you're talking about the guys you have on the team, the guys that you're going to pay.
Well, isn't Grenard in the 83 though?
What do you mean?
You said that they're paying 83 million on defense.
Yeah, he's the 83.
He's in there already. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
Oh, you're adding on to it.
I'm adding on to it by looking at the next couple of years. That number is about to change a lot, you know?
Yeah, you're talking of making a transformation from being a 253 offense to pretty much being a $220 million defense. How are you going to do that? When you got to pay a quarterback maybe $60 million.
I mean, they're going to shed salaries.
On offense?
And remember, the cap is going to go up a lot. And Howie's a good cap. I mean, look, Howie's.
Yeah.
This is the only problem. I understand where you're coming from when you talk about the money. But as an Eagle fan, I have a hard time stressing about the money because Howie's been able to figure out everything we've needed to figure out. He figured out getting off Carson Wentz. He figured out paying Jalen, Devontae, and AJ. He figured out signing Saquon Barkley. He figured out having a number one defense. Like, he's figured out everything, even when the cap crunch comes.
How many guys have you let out of the building that you think are good players in the last 2.5 years?
Yeah, but, dude, that's attrition. That's the NFL, Sills.
Okay, well, you were relying on the offense still being good. Now that the offense isn't where you – see, I think the national people are a year behind us. I think you and I know this already. This offense is on the other side of the 9. They're in the back 9 here. And I think the Eagles know that. I think, and it comes in the trenches. I think they're more concerned about the trenches than the perimeter. Zander, you can't make decisions on the perimeter when you've got concerns on the interior. You get Mekhi Lemon for what? You needed a tackle. You needed interior help. The kid from Penn State made more sense because you've got to replace these guys. It just, again, you're building your team from the perimeter with 2 draft picks that were wideouts in this 26 draft, and then you expect to cover your issues with Markel Bell in the 4th round? Man, how about this? You're right. Howie gets the benefit. He gets the benefit.
I think he does.
He does
to me.
I just said that.
No, so to your point, that's not to say there's not hard decisions. That's not to say that good players aren't going to leave. I just have a belief that Howie is going to make enough good decisions for the Eagles to be right there in the mix every year, through all the cap struggles. I do.
Here's another issue that I have with this thing here. So you're going to let Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, and Moro Ojomo walk out. What's the one thing that really is upsetting about that? You had a 3rd, a 4th, and a 7th. And those guys are going to make market value money at $26 million. And you developed them.
Well, Sweat's a little different, right? Because he got to his second deal here.
He did get to a second deal.
Yeah, so I think
He's
I mean,
still
I get where
performing,
you're
though.
coming
He
from.
got 12 sacks last year. He's still performing.
Yeah, he's still a good player. But
That's a pretty good start. Hey, how about this? How would you feel about Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, and Moro Ojomo and Jordan Davis as your starting defensive tackles in the front four?
feel pretty good about that.
Okay, I'm just saying. I mean, that's pretty good football players right there, dog. And
I
with
know.
Nicole behind him,
Isn't there some of that though that can be framed as a credit to the Eagles? I mean,
absolutely.
there's not many teams losing
No.
players that are this good.
3, 4, and 7, even more so.
I know. I'm just saying the Eagles roster is so good that they lose these caliber of players and they're still ranked the number 2 roster in football by the executives.
But here's what and where that dries up like it did in New England. You go from replacing Milton Williams to Moro Ojomo being replaced by Brian Young. And you're hoping Brian Young turns out
Well, they got
Moro Ojomo.
They got to keep drafting well the depth.
But 3, 4, and 5.
I mean, if Ty Robinson could do anything, then we'd be having a different conversation.
Completely.
We'll see if he does. I don't know if he will or not.
I'm not out on him yet.
I'm not either. Dude, defensive tackles take time. They take time. That's the other tough part about Carter, Sills. Don't you agree?
Yes.
He's only a 3-year player.
My problem is, here's what's turning out to be a problem with Carter for me. And I actually had a conversation with Robert Bailey about this. Talked to Robert Bailey, works in Rosenhaus's office. He was a teammate of mine. And man, I hate pushing guys to the ledge. I want to pull you off the ledge. I don't want to have to motivate you by pushing you to the edge. You know what I'm saying? I want to pull you off it. Hey, I want to pull you away from it. Go, hey, can't do that. Can't do this. I'd rather go, come on, we need more out of you. I hate that guy. I have to get you motivated to do something.
But aren't these good problems? Like, for example, if you don't have the players in the building that you have to make decisions on, and you have the cap space, you have to go and find the players. The Eagles have to make decisions on the players they have in the building. Right? I mean, for example, you're a team like the Commanders or whoever else that has $80, $90 million of cap space. And someone like you is like, well, they got a lot of cap room. They can make a lot of moves, but they got to go and find every player. For the Eagles, they got every player they need. They just have to decide on which ones they want to keep and which ones they want to let walk.
So the way you're talking here, I'll talk for you. When Jeffrey Lurie is looking at how the roster looks right now, first person he turns to is Howie going, hey, okay, what are we doing next? Aren't those players with their names and those numbers on that roster? They value Howie more than they value the roster, right?
Yeah, I think they do.
Okay.
I think Howie's the most important person in the organization right now.
He is. Because when they need answers, they go to him. They don't go to Nick. Right?
Well, that's...
So in Kansas City...
They go to Howie in week 4 of 24. Right.
Do you think they go to Brian Gutekunst for answers, or do they go to Matt LaFleur in Green Bay?
Yeah, but Sills, you're not talking. You're talking about two different things. When the players aren't good enough, they go to Howie. When the contracts need to be dealt with, they go to Howie. When they can't pass the ball in the first 4 weeks, they go to Nick and say, we need to run the ball more.
And when who plays on Sundays, they go to Howie. Right?
Yeah, but that's more contract related. That's more personnel related. That's Howie's spot. Howie has a better do you agree with this? Howie has a better understanding on what players can get through waivers, what players will survive on practice squads, what players might get picked up by another team. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like that to me, that's Howie.
I don't think Howie Roseman is more of a football man than Nick when it comes to game day fucking operation.
I agree.
He thinks he is.
Well, what's more important? the 52nd and 53rd man on the roster on their impact on the game or managing the back of your roster correctly? What's more important?
Okay, I'll tell you what Jimmy used to tell me. Replacing the bottom 5% of your roster is an indicator how good the top 5% of your roster is. You're only as strong as the weakest links on your team. And if I can improve the bottom of the roster more than I can improve the top of the roster, I'm going to have a balanced football team, and I'm going to have a team that I'm building a roster. Hey, Zander, anybody can have a 22, but not everybody can have a 53.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think the answer to my question, though, fluctuates by team? Like, for example, yeah, but also by team. I mean, if you have, for example, an elite punt returner who doesn't do anything else, you might play the back of the roster differently than a team that they got most things addressed in their top 30 guys.
Yeah, you know what, though? I don't look at it individually like that. I look at who's making those decisions on making that team look like that.
Well, when it comes to personnel, it's going to be Howie.
Well, when I look at two GMs right now that are building football teams, it's John Schneider and Howie, and then it's everybody else. And by the way, I would put Les Snead in that, the guy with the Rams. Would you not agree? Look at what Les Snead did this offseason. Get this, Zander. Look at what Les Snead has done the last 2 years. He went out, he got Verse, he got the kid Fiske, he got the kid Cameron Kitchens. Then the following year, guess what he does? They pull him Matthew Stafford on Jared Verse. They send Verse to Cleveland and bring Myles Garrett in an upgrade there, and they bring in Trent McDuffie to upgrade because they lost Jalen Ramsey a couple years ago, right?
I think Snead is probably your front runner right now for executive of the year. I mean, they got McDuffie and Garrett.
They've used 3 first-round draft choices in the last 11 years.
That's amazing.
They don't give a shit about draft picks.
But it shows you there's more than one way to do it.
One way to skin the whole thing.
Yeah. So like there's, Sileo often points out players that leave in Philly. That's one of the things that's tough when you draft as well as the Eagles have drafted. I mean, when's the last draft bust the Eagles have had in the top 2 or 3 rounds?
I could only think of 2 guys. That's Rager and Dillard.
And they were 2020 and 2019.
Yep.
That was before the Nick Sirianni
Actually, if you really want to put it out there, he's been really good in the draft since Rager.
Interesting. Let me ask you something. Since Nick Sirianni showed up, Howie Roseman hasn't missed on the 1st or 2nd round pick.
Because he's had less influence from the head coach.
Oh, Sileo! This guy will do anything to not give Nick a shred of credit.
Because he has less to do with it.
Interesting coincidence.
Because because you know why? Doug wanted Rager, right?
Yeah, I think that's partly what they've said. But
he has,
I also heard it wasn't just Doug; it was some people in the front office too.
Okay,
not Howie. It was like scout guys.
Hey, what'd you think they're gonna get? Hey, had less influence from the head coach.
Just saying. Nick Sirianni shows up, and all of a sudden, Howie Roseman is the greatest GM since sliced bread. I remember when we hired you in 2020, and you talked about the guy like he was a steaming pile of shit.
He was.
Nick shows up, and all of a sudden, he's the greatest GM in the world.
Yeah, because he told the coach to go like this. You sit in the corner over there during the draft, though, Nicky boy. And what I'll do is I'll pick the guys, and I'll put the guys on the football field, and you go coach them, and then you make those shitty hires with your offensive coordinator. How about the Dallas Cowboys? They got the 6th best quarterback, and they have like 2 guys in the top 10 in wide receiver. No excuse. No excuse this year.
This will be a fun season, Sileo.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Who's the sleeper in the NFC?
Let me take a look. Let me take a look at this. Sleeper in the NFC. I'll pick 2 teams. Okay. Can you count Detroit as a sleeper?
Nah, not to me.
Ready? The Giants and Minnesota.
I knew you were going to pick the Giants. See that Robustelli jersey over his head? It's a Giants jersey, folks.
What's that a fucking most to me?
No, I don't have a problem with you picking the Giants because look, they had the young quarterback in year one who showed some signs. I'm not a big Dart guy, but we'll see.
Maybe they take
and
the
then
ball
they got
out of
Harbaugh. I mean, they got a good coach. So I think there's a chance.
Maybe they take the ball out of his hands more.
This is mine.
New Orleans?
Yep.
Can you imagine if Kellen Moore turns Tyler Shook into a first-team Pro Bowl quarterback, and the guy's got 4,200 passing yards?
Look, JD3, Howie wanted Elijah Vera Tucker, and Nick said, "Give me Quinn." JD, I think I remember it the same, my friend. Oh, the Eagles love Elijah Vera, who is a good tackle, or good offensive lineman, by the way. But Quinyon Mitchell, first team All-Pro.
Here's what Kellen Moore did last year with the Saints. Between Tyler Shook, Spencer Radler, Taysom Hill, they threw for $4,000, 67.2 completion percentage, and they threw the ball 600 times. And when he was in Philly, they threw the ball 350 times. Wow. What happened? And those guys are bums. What the frick happened? And they had a completion percentage of 68%. Wasn't like they stunk. Man.
Well, all right, we got to do these supers. Come on, let's rattle these things.
Let's go.
We got a couple. The Phillies ace. Hey, Sills, you're right with a lot of things, and a lot I agree with. But when it comes to glazing players like Allen Machado, they never win. You glaze Machado?
Yeah, well, I think I think Machado's a phenomenal. He's 10 times the player that Bryce Harper is.
10 times? Come on.
Well, dude, the guy does own a glove, and he does own a gold glove. He owns 3 of them.
I like Machado, and I'm not even the biggest Harper guy, but 10 times you're embellishing. Here's JD3. You don't give competent quarterback. You see, it tastes your own medicine. You don't give competent quarterbacks $65 million. You give elite QB 65. Sam Darnold's making 35. If I was Howie, that's the number I bring into Cole Lynn. Well, Sam Darnold's much better.
You know, one thing we do have to really look at is this. Dude, guys like Baker Mayfield and these other guys are going to get $55-60 million maybe. They're paying exceptional money for good players. And I think that we have to just, me especially, Zander, I have to go like this. Dude, good players are getting exceptional money, no? Like, look at your boy Jalen Phillips.
Oh, gosh.
Wait a second.
That's free agency, though. That's why Howie doesn't play that game. Here's a JD. My only thing I would say to you is that Sam Darnold's making 35, then Sam's been a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts the last 2 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Kyle says, I'm going to steal a line from Philly 500. It's the prevent offense. It is, but why are they running it? Here's Jay the Legend. What up, Jay? Good to see you, brother. If Jalen Hurts gets 27 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and the team goes 14 wins, he's getting that $65 million. I agree, but those are some lofty fucking numbers there, my boy. Jay, I agree, though.
Jay.
That's a big if.
Hey, Jay, the only way he's getting 27 touchdowns and 6 picks is on Madden.
Here's Kimberly. She says, I would have drafted Mason Taylor last season. No, AJ. No.
The tight end from LSU, Jason Taylor's son.
Yeah, I know who she's talking about.
Yeah, the
Jet
guy.
I didn't know what she meant by AJ. All right, so good stuff. I don't know where Philly 500 is, but he'll be in here soon.
Hey, man, after those Cowboys have been put up on that list, holy cow, man. Cowboy offense this year. I don't want to hear any shit out of Mark Holmes, too, about not winning 12,
Look,
13
Cowboys have a
games.
chance. That's all. That's really all you want when you're in the NFL offseason. You want a chance. The Cowboys have a chance. But the one thing there is Dak he's been up and down the last, 6 years?
I think
One good year, hurt.
Well, it's
good year.
It's injuries related.
It's injuries, but like you always say, that's a part of it.
It is a part of it.
So I got to wait and see, but I do think the Dallas has a chance to be good.
All right. Big Z, keep up the great work in the morning. We will see you.
All right, my friend. Was it Woodshed again today? I think it was.
Woodshed. Woodshed. Yes, it was Woodshed. And you know what? I can't wait to the end of the 26th season. Because like you said, you know the great thing about Big Sills? It's either right or wrong. There ain't no gray area, Junior. We're going to find out. We're going to find out about Nikki. We're going to find out about Jalen. And by the way, I will say this. I think your defense has a shot to be great. Is the return of the no holes back? Or does the Eagle offense put holes and punch holes in that defensive attack?
Well, I agree with something you said. If they want to be a top 5 defense, the offense has to be better. Specifically, probably the running game.
Completely.
I mean, you can't be a top 5 defense if your offense can't stay on the field.
If you notice the top flight offenses, they're not the passing attacks. They're running attacks when you have a top-ranked defense.
Well, when you're winning games, you run the ball.
Because it's time of possession. Right.
That's why you got to give context to Dak's numbers last year. They were losing by 2-3 touchdowns because their defense sucked. So he threw the ball 14 million times. It's part of it. All right, Sills, I'm out.
We will catch you in the morning, my friend.
Later, dude.
You got it. All right. Man, do executives think highly of the Dallas Cowboys? Holy shit. Dak is ranked, what was it, 6th? The receivers, 2 of them are in. What were the receivers? Let me see here. Executive said. Let's see here real quick before we get the guys up. CeeDee Lamb is ranked 6th. George Pickens is 7th. God. There's A.J. Brown. See you, A.J. See you in New England. Where's Devontae? Oh, wait, it's Adams. Where's Smith? He's down in the. Oh, wait, he's not in the honorable mention. He's in the also receiving votes. He's next to the white dude, Alec Pierce. Okay. Hey, good. How you doing? Without further ado, this is going to be a barn burner here. He is my friend, and he covers the Dallas Cowboys like nobody's business, and I will tell you this. There will be at least 25 videos after today. He is my friend, Mark Holmes, and on the other side, he is Philadelphia's #1 man who covers the team, and he looks down on Cowboy fans, and Cowboy fans think he's a villain. He is Philly 500. He joins us now, punching away. How you doing, boys?
I'm the bad guy. I love it.
Right. I'm hoping that I don't need to join the witness program here, protection program. Because
why is that, Mark?
Last week you had dude who wants to meet me someplace to kick my teeth in and everything, doing the big super chats. I don't know. Is he in here today?
Probably not. He's probably hiding under his mom's basement floor here. But hey, so congratulations on executives around the league looking so highly at your offensive skilled guys. What do you make of that, Mark? I mean, you got like 2 guys in the top 10 wide receivers. They looking at the tight end. The running back is getting a lot of love. The quarterback was ranked 6th, according to executives. What do you make of how they look at your offense?
Don't forget the interior offensive lineman.
Interior offensive line got love too. All right.
Yeah, Tyler Smith. They're trying to set us up. But truth be told, let's be clear here. The offense was not the problem. We did have a great offense last year. They produced. I mean, George Pickens had 1,400 yards. If you're not in the top 10 with 1,400 yards last year, I don't know how you can be. How many will we see on the defensive side? That's the problem.
Philly. What? Look at him smiling right out of the gate. Now, Philly, I want you to correct this narrative that NFL executives don't think you have highly skilled players.
Well, I think the one thing we got to look at, especially with the way they did the quarterbacks, is it takes away Jalen Hurts' the way they compiled the list takes away Jalen Hurts' biggest strength, his resume, and it takes away Dak's biggest weakness, his resume, because they don't really look at what you did prior. That's what it said. It was here and now. So if you're going to do that, then you're basing it off of just last year. I don't think that's a accurate.
It's the last 2 years there, bro.
I don't think that's the right way to compile a list. So it's a bullshit list because of the way they compiled it. That's the truth.
See again, Philly, you don't know what you're talking about. They actually compiled it for the last 2 seasons. It's the last 2 seasons.
Well, they did not look at past record, past resume when taking into account.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference of team success.
But winning and losing.
What are you doing?
But winning and losing is not
ridiculous.
But winning and losing is not a quarterback stat.
It is a quarterback stat. It's been a quarterback stat for 30 years until the Eagles win a Super Bowl. They didn't take it away.
If that's such a factor, then why don't executives?
Because those executives all don't want to look like assholes because they can't build a Super Bowl team.
Man,
they're talking about worried
Can
about
I rebut for a second? Let me just put it there like this, okay? Let's take Aaron Rodgers, for example, who has 4 MVPs to his resume, okay? After they won the Super Bowl in 2011, it's hard to argue that he wasn't the best quarterback out on the field, right?
Yes.
Right.
Since that Super Bowl run in the playoffs, they've been 7-10 with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's got 3 MVPs during that time.
Right. That's right.
So
and
most saying that he's a garbage quarterback?
No, because he did it. He at least won. Once you get to that
one
mountain,
run. They had
different.
4 playoff wins.
Matter. Once you do it, you've done it. Okay, he had 4 MVPs.
But
okay,
they had the numbers. Okay, but that season they won it. That season they won it. They had the number 3 defense.
That Brock Purdy is a better quarterback because he's 5-3 in the postseason than Josh Allen?
No, I'm not saying he's a better quarterback. But what I'm saying is that when you look at a list like this, if you don't put or take into account a guy's resume, then I think you're not really building an accurate list because resumes matter. If you want to say that he's been further in the playoffs than Josh Allen, yeah, he has.
Philly, I thought you were smarter than this. So let me just say this. Let me ask this. If you took Jalen Hurts and you put him on Jacksonville, is he winning the Super Bowl?
No.
He might be.
No.
He might be. If you took Jalen Hurts and you put him on the Cleveland Browns, would they have won Super Bowls?
I don't think so. No.
Dude, you couldn't put Mahomes.
But you just said his resume is everything.
Mark,
but it doesn't translate with other teams.
You couldn't put.
Then you're saying that the other teams have something to do with it?
You couldn't put everything.
Mark, you couldn't put Mahomes on the Jets and they would win the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
I didn't say everything. I said it has to account for something. You guys are completely disregarding it 100%. Yes, you are. You guys are completely disrespecting and disregarding.
It's not just us guys. It's the Eagles.
It seems to be a lot of people that are.
And wait a second, Philly.
They have to.
Wait.
They have to.
Do you think a bad passing game erases a winning resume? Because if you say no, what are the Eagles doing right now when it comes to hiring a coach who's never coached a player like Jalen, and Jalen has never played in a system that coach is going to teach him? How in God's name do you not look at it with what they did in the draft? Two wide receivers they draft. They're losing AJ. They bring in a slew of them. They want to change the entire passing game. How are they not looking at this? You're taking 50 and 18 and putting it in the trash can because you've had a shitty passing game the last 3 years. Are they not?
Maybe they look at it and they say, we know Jalen Hurts can do it. And it's just a matter of putting the right.
Why haven't they done it then?
Why would you think that Howie Roseman and those guys would sit and say, we're going to hire a coach that he can't do anything with? You act like they're idiots. You think they're idiots? I don't think Howie's an idiot. I think they have an idea that if they do certain things, Jalen Hurts can do it or can't.
Well, you can't
just disregarding them.
You can't convince your. You can't convince
with that coach.
You can't convince yourself even to try to tell me that Sean Mannion's a better coach than Kevin Patullo. You have
Dude,
no.
my pinky.
You have nothing.
Better than Kevin
You have
Patullo.
nothing to base that. You have nothing
Better
to
than
base that on.
I can base it on that. I know right now this pinky is better than Kevin Patullo. He stinks. Please.
He's never coached. Hey, all right. Hey,
I'm loving this.
now let me ask
My
you something
kids,
here.
hey, kids, come in and coach the offense. They can do a better job than Kevin Patullo.
I don't know who Sean Mannion is. Hey,
He's the guy that's better than Kevin Patullo, and I don't care that he's done one.
Hey, Mark,
one down.
the guy's been a coach for 18 months.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, hey,
on the Green Bay Packers that were middle of the road offensive.
They have to compile a list and take away guys' resumes when rating the quarterbacks. Let's take it away. Let's disregard wins altogether. You say, I'm saying winning is means everything to quarterback. I'm not. I'm just saying it's got to be part of the conversation. And if you take it away, then of course you're going to have Jalen Hurts 17 and Dak 6.
Okay, well,
it's not fair.
How about having second halves where you literally can't make a freaking yard or a point? Maybe that's what took it away from him.
I go 9-9 in the first half, or 15-17 in the first half, then doesn't throw a completion in the second half. Why do you think he's incapable of throwing? No, it's because they're coaching him to do that, because they're playing something that we used to call prevent offense. And that was by design by the coaches. That's how bad they were.
All right. Well, you know what? I got a topic that sides on that side of it with you. I said this, and some people, of course, because they had pushback on it. The league hasn't caught up with the RPO, dude. They've caught up with Nick. Because if Jalen Hurts can throw across the middle, according to you, and by the way, his numbers dictated, even though he throws only 99 times, is it that on Nick making Hurts the caboose by putting him in that spot? Because if you think he can do that, and he can do this, isn't that Nick the last 4 years saying, hold on, you go over here and we're going to put you in this box. I don't want you throwing across the middle. Do you know 93% of the passes, Mark, the last 4 years have gone to the numbers?
Yeah.
That's Nick.
Yeah.
If you believe in Jalen, that's Nick doing that. So guess what? The league hasn't caught up with Hurts. Philly, they caught up with Nick.
I agree. I agree. As I've said, I believe a lot of the problems have been the coaching and the way and Nick's belief that, hey, if you have the lead, you win 43. We're 43-1, 43-3. And I think he plays up to it too much. And I think too many times we saw last year, the Eagles come out, move the ball, get a lead, and then blow it because they take the foot off the gas. And you can't take the foot off the gas in the NFL and then put your foot back on it. It's too hard. But he consistently did that. And I'm not saying Jalen Hurts isn't at fault. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts doesn't have flaws. He does have those things. But I do know that when you need him in a big game, he could come through for you. That's been established. And I think that matters. And the reason I have a problem with the list is I think the list doesn't take that into account at all. At all.
That's fair. And I respect your side of it. Now, I'm going to ask you one question, Mark, about Rashawn Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to assume that Eagle fans are going to probably get upset with this one here. You think Rashawn Gary's a better player than Jonathan Grenard? And I want to go back and read you Rashawn Gary's numbers the last couple of years. 8 sacks, 9 sacks, 8 sacks, 9 sacks.
Quality player.
Sacks. That's over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in the last 6 seasons, he's averaged 8 sacks.
Consistency.
And Jonathan Grenard a year ago had a bad, but prior to that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had 11-11, which is great. You think it's a push? Listen, I don't think he's like, oh my God, he's so much better. But I do believe that they're kind of compatible with one another. So I'll tell you what, I'll back up on my comment and say they're compatible. Because Gary's, aren't you expecting big things out of him? Because to me, I think he's your Jonathan Grenard.
I think you're right on that because here's what's going to help our edge rushers. Okay, I'm not sure what we're going to have. We have a lot of good guys. I don't know if anybody's going to elevate up there high, but when you can get a push in the middle, and that's where our strength is, that changes everything. If your nose tackle can get 1 or 2 yards of penetration, that quarterback is not stepping up in the pocket, and it makes it more effective for your edge rushers. If we have like we've had in the past when we had Tyler Biotish, and it's like the parting of the Red Sea, where the guys are getting up in there, the quarterback's got to move around. He can't see the same way. And that's been part of the problem with our defense in the past is we've got no push and we're relying solely on the edge rushers. So it's all going to be whether or not we get that push in the middle.
I'm gonna back up on my comment because I think that Grenard is a really good football player too, and I do. So I want to put that out there, but Gary's been very consistent, dude. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's averaging 8 sacks the last 6 years here.
Yeah.
What are you expecting from Jonathan Grenard this year? Philly, you think he's gonna, is he gonna be a lateral move from Jalen Phillips, or do you think he adds something? And do you think he adds to Jalen Carter's play, kind of like Milton did a little bit to Jalen Carter's play in 24?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think and believe that he's going to add something. I think at worst, you probably get a lateral move with Phillips at worst case scenario. But I think he's a little more accomplished. I think Phillips is a little younger and has a little more upside still. But I think Grenard should be. I think you should get like 10 sacks from him at least.
Okay.
And able to set the edge. What makes Grenard's situation interesting to me is it's like, what does this all mean for Nolan Smith? Because I still think the Eagles, if given a chance, they would add another premier pass rusher. And if they could do that, what's it going to – is Nolan Smith somebody that is expendable? Because I think Jalen Hunt's a star, and I think he's going to be even better this year. So I think Phillips is going to help them overall. I think it should be an improvement.
Mark, you worried about the 4th toughest schedule? I mean, you know what? It's funny. You finished second place in the East, and I think the Eagles have an easier path to get to 11, 12 wins. And again, I'm not, for whatever reason, I don't know how it happened where the Cowboys are not with the same schedule as Philly, but I think the way that they compiled your list at the beginning of the year, your opening games, I'm not saying that Philly doesn't have a tough opening because there's Chicago and the Rams are in that first 5 too. So, I mean, that's a tough putt too. But what I'm saying is, for a team that finished second place and under 500, that's a pretty rough start out of the gate, bro.
Well, it's all subjective because here's the reality is we're basing this on what teams did last year.
Correct.
And we know half of the teams, are going to end up being, that were playoff teams last year won't. If you looked at our schedule last year and you said Washington and the Eagles, you looked at both of those games and said, oh my God, we got no chance. And Washington goes south. So yes, it is tough. And we do play some of the teams that were good last year. But I think the way that this actually works out towards the end of the season, we actually get a bit of a break because our bye week is really, really late. And having those Thursday games, for example, when we play the Rams are in the middle of a circular firing squad because they're literally playing, Seattle, San Francisco, us, and we're basically having a mini bye week before we play them. So there are some advantages that are in there. And starting out with the Giants and the Commanders, that actually gives you a chance to basically be your preseason and maybe to get yourself, feeling good about your defense and get up to speed before you start getting to that tough week 4, week 3 going to Rio and that hard stretch right there.
I'm going to ask Philly this question about Devontae Smith and Jalen here in a minute, but I want to preface it by doing this. You think Dak Prescott has made George Pickens an elite wide receiver now? He was never in the top 10. And all of a sudden, here he is in the top 10. And you're talking, and I see one executive say he's arrived. Well, he was in Pittsburgh, and this dude had Justin Fields in Pittsburgh. Has Dak elevated this guy, according to NFL executives? Has he elevated George Pickens? He's making $28 million now.
Sure, you can give Dak credit for that. I have no problem with that. He had a great year with Dak. And so if you want to say that,
So you
that's
agree
fine.
the quarterback elevates these wide receivers, right?
Yeah, they can. They can. I look at it really like in my personal opinion.
Jalen do that too? Because right now, if you look at this list, Philly, and by the way, I do believe that Devontae's got a shot to go up. If you look at the list of wideouts that came out today, there's one thing that's definitely noticeable. There's only 3 wide receivers on this list that are number 2s, and that's T. Higgins, that's Devontae Smith, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe
Pickens.
And George Pickens. Those are the only 3 guys on this list that are number 2 guys heading into this year. Now, obviously, Devontae's being elevated to 1. Does he elevate him into being a top 10 wide receiver this year?
I think so. I think when it's all said, I think Devontae Smith will be a top 10 receiver this year. I've always loved Devontae Smith. I think he got overshadowed with AJ there, right? I don't think he got certain balls that he might have got normally, but I think a lot of people make the assumption, and I think it's wrong, that because AJ Brown was there, Devontae Smith was able to kind of be okay or be a decent second. But I think Devontae Smith has been capable of playing and being a number 1 from the get-go.
So you believe then that Jalen made AJ didn't make Jalen?
I mean, I would say Jalen made AJ, but if we're gonna go under that route where AJ Brown's best years are with the Eagles, so then we can say Jalen Hurts made him. I guess if we're gonna say Dak made Pickens, then AJ Brown was made by Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
I can say that Dak Prescott's resume is he gets guys paid, because Randall Cobb was left on the side of the road as roadkill with about 400 yards received season for about 3 seasons. He comes to Dallas and he gets 800 yards, gets a big fat contract with the Texans. Des Bryant's highest yards per completion with Dak Prescott. Cedric Wilson, who you always talk about as being a great receiver, had 1 great season with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has elevated everybody's numbers and got them paid. And to your argument that being overshadowed by AJ Brown,
Hurts has done
well, wait a minute. But how come George Pickens wasn't overshadowed by CeeDee Lamb?
Because he was hurt. Be fair, Mark.
He still had well over 1,000 yards.
I know.
There's a little bit of whining going on at certain times.
It's not whining. I'm just pointing out. You're sitting there saying that, well, he was in the shadows and he couldn't do anything. But so George Pickens, either way, George Pickens and CeeDee both played better than than Devontae Smith, even with CeeDee hurt.
I just gave Pickens credit. See, that's what a the Cowboys are. I gave Dak credit. I gave Pickens credit. And
here's the reality of it.
Like a brick. Okay, so why did Pickens why was he good? Because your team was down 30 points every week, and all they had to do was throw.
That helped. But
that's why. You know why you guys had good years? Because your team sucked and they were always losing, so they had to throw. That's why he had bigger numbers.
You have having to throw and being successful with it are 2 different things.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Cleveland had to throw every down too, but how successful were they passing the football? Miami had to throw every down.
Why is that such a great quarterback that he's ranked 17 in the red zone? Why can't he score in the red zone?
Mark,
what was wrong with him? Did he choke?
Let me put this here. Let me put this here. Do you agree, Mark, that the 2 best general managers in pro football right now are Howie Roseman and John Schneider in Seattle? Maybe Les Snead, you could throw him in there as number 3 for the Los Angeles Rams. Would those be the 3 guys?
They would be, but I would say that Howie has come back down to earth a little bit.
Really?
No, I'm okay. Now, to your point, listening, see, you always talk about how I'm always here early in the green room and stuff, because I enjoy listening to Zander and you guys going through and breaking things down. When you start looking at some of the players that you brought in, like giving up a third for Jonathan Phillips and stuff, and then having him walk out the door, was that a prudent move? Did that really make your team better by doing that? Now, I get it. You'll end up getting a comp pick in replacement of it, but you've seen quite a few of these hits and misses more than you used to. And to your point, the whole problem with Jalen Carter about paying him. Is it more about Jalen Carter, or is it the fact that you have a lot of guys to pay and that those bills are beginning to come due?
No, here's the thing, Mark, with Jalen Carter that's becoming a problem for me. Last year was a no-brainer, Philly. It was a no-brainer, and it's gone from a no-brainer to a pause when it comes to his contract extension. I mean, last year, Mark, this was a foregone conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, Philly, right? It's gone to a pause. Do you not agree?
I don't agree. No, I don't agree.
Well, where's the deal then?
A pause is too strong of a word. I would say a hesitation, maybe,
Okay.
because I think it's actually going to get done, and I actually think they're
Before the start of the season.
I do, yeah. I think it's going to get done at camp.
Funny, he's never signed a guy in camp, but
That's
you know what?
They've done.
He never drafted a guy at linebacker in the first round either. So he's kind of changed his ways of doing. He's pivoted a lot over the last couple of years. So he
used to do it a lot during the season, and he got away from it because he said that when you did one player's extension during the season, then the other players also, well, what about my extension? I'm having a good year too. So they kind of got away from doing it during the year. But I think they will do it before the start of week 1. And I think that the whole, in holding out and being there, not doing certain drills, I think you do that when you're in negotiations. So that's what I take.
Mark, I got to tell you, how you answer this question is going to really dictate how your season's going to go.
Oh, shit. Oh, don't put
Ready?
that pressure on me.
What's the strength of your football team?
Strength of our football team is, it's definitely the offense, without a doubt. Now, I'm going to say actually our interior offensive line, if you want to really put it into a position, I'm going to say it's interior offensive line, which is key.
Because if you tell me receivers, you ain't winning championships at the perimeter.
Mm-mm.
That's Eagle Formula 101. Okay? That's their formula for beating and being the best team in the NFC East the last 20 years has been this, Mark. It's been up front. That year they won their first Super Bowl, 53. That was one of the best combinations of D-line and O-line.
Yeah.
When you lose guys like Jason Peters and still go out there and run people over, that's how you beat the piss out of people. You don't beat them from the perimeter. You beat them from the interior. So I'll ask you, Philly, what's the strength of your football team?
I still think it's both lines. I think both defensive interior and offensive line. Even though we have questions at the line with the health, I still think that, the expectation, obviously, is those guys can be healthy this year. And if they are, then I think that becomes the strength of your team automatically.
Do you think you're strong up the middle like you've been? You think you, with Jalen Jahad Campbell, do you believe that guy is an upgrade on Kobe Dean?
I can't say he's an upgrade right now, but I think he's got a higher ceiling. And I don't think he was all that bad last year. I just think Nakobe Dean was really, really good. But if you want to say, is that a question mark right now? I'm okay with that. I think it's a risk letting Dean go, obviously, but I think it's a well-calculated risk that they made 2 years prior. So I think we'll be okay.
Mark, what's your biggest weakness right now on the Cowboys?
My biggest weakness, I would say, actually, my biggest worry is left tackle. I'm worried about whether or not Tyler Guyton
your strength's interior, but your concerns are edges.
Left tackle. Yeah, left tackle. Not so much the right tackle, because Terrence Steele is actually a great run blocker. His pass blocking isn't quite as good, but if you are a balanced offense, you can kind of negate that.
What about the Cowboys having interest in Teron Arnold?
No, they don't. Here's the interesting thing about Arnold is he's kind of got a knock similar to what Diggs had, where he gives up a lot of yardage and things. And I think that the Lions were, eager to be able to pull the trigger on that one and say, maybe we're better off getting out of this one. You can't sign him.
That's funny. They had the same comments in Detroit about Darius Slay when he played press coverage. But then when they put him in a zone, he turned out to be one of the best zone cover corners. And by the way, that's what you're going to run this year. You're not running press. You're running zone. That's a whole different world. You've got what makes the Eagles great in the secondary is because Q's a press corner playing zone.
True.
And it's almost like a day off for him being back there. I mean, what's your biggest weakness on the Eagles right now, Philly?
I think for me, the biggest
Is it
question mark.
coaching?
Well, I mean, I think that's fair, but no, I think you got to say wide receiver right now. Like I think there's a lot of questions at the receiving position, and this is under the assumption that you're going to get guys like Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson healthy. Okay, if we assume for the benefit of the doubt that they're healthy this year, then I think the question is who's that number 2 wide receiver? You got a lot of guys who I think are capable, but they're not A.J. Brown. So who's going to rise up and who's going to take that number 2 wide receiver spot? Who's going to be the other guy besides Devontae? I think that's a legit question for this team right now that we won't know until it starts.
Couple last ones for you guys here. Is this the best offensive skilled group of players that Prescott has had maybe since the second year of Ezekiel Elliott, where you got a 1,200-yard back, you've got a tight end who's emerging in Ferguson.
Yeah.
You've got 2 wideouts out there on the perimeter that, I don't know who was on the other side of Dez. But, I mean, now you've got 2 1,500-yard guys. I mean, really, Mark, if not now with that offense, this is a dude. It's got to be a number 1 offense, and they got to carry that football team until that defense and that apple ripens, no? For them to be able to really
I'm actually going to have to say that not just the skill players, that this is probably the best collection of offensive talent total. Because, see, 2016 was the best offensive.
The right guy to utilize that talent.
Yeah. Well, 2016, he had the best offensive line that he ever had, because that was before Tyron Smith started breaking down. And that was before we had Hilly and Bars with Travis Frederick. The only thing that makes this not as good as those guys is actually Terrence Steele. But far and away, this is the best 2 wide receivers collectively. You had CeeDee Lamb when he was a rookie in his second year with Amari Cooper, who was kind of coming back down a little bit. But even Fauntleroy right now is Ryan Fenoy is coming up as a pretty good receiver at number 3. So, yeah, this is. And to your point, if the defense plays like anything, the Cowboys don't have an excuse.
Philly, for you, I'm going to ask you a couple questions on your offense. You think Barkley's in his prime?
Yes.
Okay. You think Lane Johnson's in his prime?
No, I think he's on the back end of his career.
You think Landon Dickerson's in his prime?
He should be.
Okay. You think Dallas Goedert's in his prime?
Actually, this is the best I've seen Dallas Goedert. So I would say probably not if you base it on age. But if you base it on the way he played last year, yeah.
You think Mulata's in his prime?
Yes.
I do too. You think Jalen Hurts is in his prime?
Yes.
Okay. So he'll have a prime year this year.
He should. Yeah, I expect big things from Jalen.
Okay. So, it should be like a career year.
I think so, yeah. I
Without
do.
AJ.
Yeah. Without AJ.
Okay.
They're going to have to figure it out, but I think so. Like I said, that offense was so bad last year, even with AJ. If you just get competent coaching, as a whole, that offensive unit's going to be better.
Mark, is this going to be a career year for Dak?
I'm hoping it's a year like 2014 Tony Romo. Tony Romo was about 3,800 yards, 36 TDs, I think 8 interceptions. Because they were balanced, he actually was more prolific than he had been when we weren't. You don't want Dak Prescott to have to throw for 5,000 yards and 40 TDs to be successful. If we are, we're probably about 8-9 or 9-8.
Is this the best team since the Green Bay game, the catch not catch game?
Yes, I can say that because our defense was coming off of 31st, I believe, in 2013, and we had gotten rid of DeMarcus Ware and Jason Hatcher, and Sean Lee was injured, but the defense went from 31st to 19th. So, yes, this would be.
Philly, last one for you. So you think the offense is going to be elevated this coming season, and you think it's going to be better than 24? You think it's going to be better than 22?
It's going to be better than last year.
Okay. So Devontae Smith, the year that Devontae was he was a rookie, so I'm not holding any water to that, where he had 900 yards because he was the only premier guy in the huddle really at wideout because you didn't have anybody here. You think the other guys by committee are going to make up for AJ's yardage?
They're going to have to. I mean, I don't see any other way around it. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that letting a talent like AJ Brown go is necessarily easy to replace. It's not. But I think that they're going to have to. Yeah, totally. I hope that they do. As a group, yeah.
Well, here we go, boys. And
Here we go.
Here we go. Here, Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, Dallas got top 10 everybody. So there's no excuses for Mark, right? I mean, they got top 10.
You know, it's a popularity contest, man.
Uh-huh.
They will be in Oxnard on 7/28. And the Philadelphia Eagles will be reporting to camp at the Jefferson Health Training Complex right there in Philly, also on 7/28. Wow.
Man.
And get this, boys, today we're 14 days out from the start of training camp. Woo! Boy, you had a big old week about guys talking about them Cowboys. How about them Cowboys, boy? And there he is over there. Philly, hey, 19th ranked tight end, 22nd ranked wide receiver, 17th ranked quarterback.
I love it. I love it because it's just setting Mark up. It's all setting Mark up.
It really is.
Mark believes the hype. He
tries. This guy's going to come off the top. If that fucking team wins 14 ball games this year, Philly's going to jump off the top rope.
I have a good feeling about the outcome this season. So I can't wait for it to start.
Boys, I appreciate you more than you know. Make sure you check out this guy's sensational work. Philly 500 and my friend Mark Combs. Appreciate all of you guys and what you guys do. Thank you so much, man. It's my favorite segment of the week. It really is. I love both these dudes, man. Just tremendous. And by the way, Cowboys and Eagles. Sounds like a monster movie, doesn't it? That sounds like a monster movie. Great stuff, guys. All right, let's pay some bills. Our great friends at Morgan & Morgan, the #1 injury law firm in all of America for a reason. That is because they win. With over $30 billion recovered, there's no firm like Morgan & Morgan. I told you about the family in Pennsylvania that was initially offered $650K. They got nearly $30 million in settlement. Or the family in Florida that got $350K. They got nearly $12 million in settlement. Guys, do me a favor. Go to forthepeople.com/Big Sills or Pound Law 529. That's forthepeople.com/Big Sills or Pound Law 529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sills sent you.
There's a reason Detective Johnson is the gossip king.
Oh, did you hear? Jackie and Tom
are getting a divorce? Sad.
Well, I heard that Ashley
had work done on her face? Yeah, oof.
Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Injured? With over $25 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big.
Bathroom? Okay.
Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Oh, okay.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, He called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Without a doubt. Appreciate y'all coming aboard. Thank you guys. Appreciate it again here. Love talking to those dudes. And again, I just think that the Cowboys have done some really great moves in the offseason here. Now, does that mean that the Cowboys are going to go on and win a Super Bowl? Absolutely not. They haven't done it in a long time. And I completely look at where the Cowboys have done and really improved their roster. They have. But again, they got to go out and do it. I find it funny the Cowboys been unbalanced for 30 years and counting. Yet, here we go talking about Dak's passing yards. Bro, that's all. Once again, this guy is so dumb. He's so fucking dumb. That's all you guys are talking about now in your actions. And dude, Philly 500, I love you, man, but you're wrong on how they look at players. That list that they've put out here, let me show you something here. Best wide receiver in pro football, Jamar Chase. Very limited success in the postseason. They consider him the best wide receiver in football. Why? Because of his numbers and his ability. Justin Jefferson has never been to an NFC championship game. Why? Well, they look at his ability and his numbers. JSN, last year, absolutely Super Bowl, big years, but he had 1,800 yards receiving and accounted for 44% of the football's passing game. I mean, Puka Nacua, again, another guy in a great system. Ahmad St. Brown has never been to a Super Bowl, but he's one of the highest paid guys. CeeDee Lamb, one of the highest paid players, never been to an NFC championship game. George Pickens, never been to an NFC championship game. $30 million. Nico Collins, $32 million. Never been to an AFC championship game. I mean, guys, it's not about your wins. It's about your ability and about your production. Plain and simple. That's how people look at players. They don't look at players and go, how does he win games? I mean, here, pick any position on how these executives, let's go here down the list here. Pick a position. Here, it's a great example. Let's go to edge rushers. Myles Garrett, never been to an AFC championship game. Number one. Michael Parsons, never been to an NFC championship game. Will Anderson, never been to an AFC championship game. Max Crosby, never been to an AFC championship game. Aiden Hutchinson, never been to a Super Bowl. Danielle Hunter, never been to a conference championship game. TJ Watt, never been to a conference championship game. Brian Burns, never been to a conference championship game. These are all dudes that have never been to a conference championship game and have limited success in the postseason. And yet these are the executives on who they're looking at are the best players at their respected position. I mean, when you start putting wins and losses next to players, executives don't look at that. They look at how you execute and how good you are, not by how many fucking wins you have on a team. I mean, nobody evaluates a player and goes, that guy's great based on 11 wins a year ago. Nobody has done that. Seals, I think Carter, Q, Cooper are going to be playing musical chairs with only 2 seats. Jalen will be left without a seat and will be traded. Q and Coop are more consistent. Absolutely true. I'm curious as to how the successful teams have allocated their caps on the roster. Paying wide receivers generally doesn't lead to success. Overpaying quarterbacks tend to lead to the same result. I agree with you. I agree. And I brought this up just with the Seahawks. Ask yourself this question with the Seahawks. Outside of JSN, who's good in that huddle? Who's good in the huddle? Who's good in the huddle? Again, every time you see somebody drop these kind of comments, you know you're winning. I never said Jalen Hurts was a better quarterback than Josh Allen, numbnuts. I said Jalen Hurts has proved he can do 2 things with a balanced formula. He's never been balanced in his entire career but for 1 year. And that was in 22. That's it. He's never had a balanced offense. What year was that? That they were balanced. What year was that? I mean, here. Outside of 22, and 1 year's not proving shit. Where were they balanced? 21, they were 25th in passing. 22, they were 1 in rushing, and they were 8th in rushing, 8th in passing. They were great that year. 23, they were 16th in passing. 24, they were 29th. Last year, they were 25th. Where's your balance? Hey, 4 years ago, this guy keeps bringing a point up. And that team has come, they were balanced in 22 and went to the Super Bowl. I think that's his point. Right. Stop talking about 22. That's 4 years ago. CJ Stroud hasn't missed the playoffs. How great is he? Or do you think he's on a good football team? Every year Stroud's been in the playoffs. And by the way, they've gone further. First year they won. Second year he won another game. Is Stroud 2-2 in the postseason? I know he's made the playoffs. What's CJ Stroud's postseason record? Might be 1-1. He's 3-3. He's 3-3 in the postseason. Okay. And he hasn't missed the playoffs every year he's been playing. I don't think anybody's sitting around writing love letters about CJ Stroud's play the last couple of years. No. If you talk about anything football to a Jalenite, they think everything is about team success. They don't know what balance is. If you can pressure Jalen Hurts up the middle and can keep him from rolling right, he's a below average at best. When you take his rollout away, he usually throws the ball away. Correct. And it's becoming predictable. And that's something they clearly have to change because he does roll right. He does. By the way, I put something pretty cool out there. And I wrote this here and I said, here's my I didn't put top 10 quarterbacks on my list. I put my top 6 quarterbacks. And I put this, here's my top 6 quarterbacks all time. Joe Montana, number 1, the clear number 1. I got Tom Brady 2. I got Mahomes 3. I got Manning 4. I've got Steve Young 5. And I've got John Elway 6. Those are my 6 best quarterbacks in NFL history. Montana, Brady, Mahomes, Manning, Steve Young, and John Elway. Those are my 6 all time. Like I said, I don't try to debate a historian. It won't work. What do you mean a historian? Anytime you bring up wins and losses and you're talking about a player's skill, you don't know what you're talking about. Max demolished Lawrence and expected him to be good against Mulatto or Lane. You should sign Clowney. Don't do that. Personally, I think that dude had a great year up there in Seattle last year. Let me see what he did. I thought he had a great year. DeMarcus Lawrence had 11 TFLs, 6 sacks, 53 tackles. I don't think that's awful at all. As a matter of fact, he led the Seahawks in sacks. That's pretty good. All jokes aside, I think there are 2 different arguments with quarterback rankings. Some people are talking about skill and some are talking about impact, game impact. That's why it always is so much a debate. Well, I don't really think that I think Jalen had an impact on 24's team, not as a passer, but as a runner. Okay? As a runner, not as a passer that year. So let's go down memory lane. 86 Miami versus Florida, most intense game you ever played. And did Kerwin, hey, let's go down memory lane. 86 Miami, most intense game you ever played in. Did you send Kerwin Bell a get well card? Oh, yeah, you must have known. I separated his spleen in that game. I did. We became teammates, Mr. Hill. I really like Kerwin Bell, but we became teammates. I played for Galen Hall too, believe it or not. And I like those guys. And Kerwin Bell was a gamer, was a really good player. And we had great battles. They beat us once too. Sales for the Jalenites in here. Who think I'm not hard on Dak? You're wrong. If team stays healthy, this is put up or shut up for Dak this year. No excuses. Completely agree. I played against, not at Tennessee, but I played Tennessee twice. 0-2, actually. Got beat in the Sugar Bowl and got beat in the Citrus Bowl. And that was Reggie White's team when I was at Maryland. So 2 bowl games, 0-2 versus Tennessee. They were pretty good those years. And we shit the bed in that game against the Tennessee Volunteers in the Sugar Bowl in 85. 83, we played against them. And I think Johnny Majors was the coach, well, if I'm not mistaken, for both of those teams. Cecil's balance to you is when the Cowboy quarterback throws for 4K and chokes in the playoffs. No, a balanced attack is being in the top 15 in both rushing and throwing. So you have no idea what you're talking about again. Quarterback is easily the most important position, but the importance is overrated, if that makes sense. I think the quarterback position is very important, dude. Like, he can't turn the ball over. What do you think of the 90s Nebraska teams? Tremendous. Great talent. Tom Osborne's best run. And, you know, those 80s teams of his were good. The 90s teams were better. His 70s teams late were okay. Oklahoma was better. Switzer was a better college coach than Osborne, though. Berry was better. Berry was more dominant. But those 90s teams were great. Sills, can you get into some of our rookie scouting reports? Maybe we can see any red flags or more so what to expect. Twiz, here's the one thing about rookies and those reports. Here, let's take a look at Mekhi Levin. Mekhi Lemon, pre-draft profile. So this is what they wrote about him. Let's see here. Why isn't that popping up? Pre-draft profile. Man, he's a small dude. He is really a small dude. 5'11", 190. For the record, I voted him to the Biletnikoff, and I gave him my vote. Let me see here. Saying areas of concern. Slot-heavy deployment. Lemon's profile is much more slot-oriented than boundary-oriented. So offensive fit matters more than it would for some outside receivers. He doesn't have the same ability as Devontae Smith on the sidelines. He's not like going to be a toe tapper. He's not going to run. And I think he struggled when he was at SC, boundary to the number, on being able to catch the football. Remember, you got to get 2 feet in the pros. You can get away with that in college with dragging one. You can't do that in the pros. You've got to have an understanding of where you are in the field. And in his pre-draft analysis, that was one of the things that people said, okay, is he an outside receiver? I don't think he's an outside receiver. I think he's an inside receiver. I think if they're going to be productive, they're going to put him in a slot. Well, Hurts doesn't throw to the slot. And how much is that going to help Devontae? Like, if you want Devontae to be a 1,500-yard receiver, you got to have somebody to take some of them doubles out and threaten the middle of the field. Okay? Here. So the NFL looked at him and views Lemon as a better athlete than a pure slot only label would suggest, which supports his ability to separate, create after the catch, and hold up in high volume roles, which means that's a good thing. Here's something, though, to think about. He's not built like an alpha wideout. His game is driven more by route winning and volume creation than by overwhelming perimeter size and catch radius projection. If this guy doesn't run great routes, he's not effective. Okay? And now, whatever you think of these guys, personally, if I was going to put a label on him, I think he's kind of like a Jerry Jeudy guy. I think he's Jerry Jeudy. Let me see what he's done so far in his career. I think he's like that guy. Had 1 year at 1,200 yards. He had 1,229 and 24. 856. 467 got hurt. 972. 758. 1,229 in Cleveland. Last year, he had 602. I think he's this guy. 4 years, he's had 4884. Okay. I mean, 13 yards a catch. Okay. 17 TDs in 6 years. All right. I think he's that guy. 76 catches. 351 catches in 6 years. Okay, that's about 66 catches in 900 yards. That's not terrible. I think he's a Jerry Jeudy guy. Like 66, 900 yards. 3 or 4 touchdowns a year. I think he's that guy. I don't think that Jerry Jeudy's a bust. I think he's a pretty good football player. I don't think he's a bust. Dude, 900 yards for being a 2? And 17 TDs, 6 years of being a 2? I don't know. He's had shitty quarterbacks the majority of his career. I think that's pretty productive. Seals, why is college rules different than the NFL? Example, needing 2 feet down and down by contact. It seems like it would get the players ready for the NFL if it was the same in both leagues. Yeah, and I think you'd get a better evaluation if you had the same rules too. I don't know why you have to have 2 feet down in college or 2 feet down in the pros. I think it's a tougher skill set to do that. And there's no reason to make the game tougher. I think the 2 feet rule sucks. I hate the 2 feet rule. I like the fact because then you would get more spectacular catches and the passing would improve. And then you would help out the passing game against these defenses that are starting to get hold of some of these offenses. Take that 2-foot rule out. Make the game look better. Remember, offense makes the game look better. Defense doesn't. If you only have 2 receivers on the field with Lemon on one side and Smitty on the other, are they going to have to fight for their lives to not get jammed? Correct. Well, here, Lemon, what I would do with Lemon, I would put I want to see if he can get off the line of scrimmage. I want to see if he can get off the line. He's a little dude. Okay? Let's see if he can get off the line of scrimmage first. Do you know that's the number one battle for young wideouts? How you get off the line. Are they going to jam him? They're going to play him in a zone? I wouldn't play Lemon in a zone. I'd get up on his ass. He's a little dude. Little dudes get beat up by big guys all the time. I'd maul the guy. And I don't really think he's a good perimeter guy. I think he's going to do most of his work inside. Beat him up. Hit him. Put him on his ass. Hit him a couple times. See how many games he can take to contact. So, like, if I'm the Commanders, I'm beating that kid up in the first game. I want to see what he can do. Test him out. That's what they're going to do. Let's see here. Stop fucking crying to Zander. Sills, you think getting recruited out of high school is harder today? Yes. Oh, my God, yes. High school scholarships are harder today than ever before. If I'm a college coach, I'm not recruiting high schools. I'm recruiting the portal. Oh, my God, yeah. I would not have the recruits in the recruiting list that I had. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Miami, Maryland, Pitt, Penn State, Oklahoma, LSU. I wouldn't have those offers because they're going to be in the portal. And maybe I'd have like Penn State, Boston College, Syracuse, probably Maryland still. I don't even know if I'd have Miami. See here. Look at this. Dude, you can have the regular season yards. Real historians know you can't take your passing yards with you to the playoffs. No, you take them to the Hall of Fame. That's where you take them. To the Hall of Fame. Sills, I bet if you put Judy in Buffalo, I think you would see a different Judy. Maybe not to the Pickens level, but he definitely would have better stats. Completely true. And it's a great take by you on Pickens. Pickens was Jerry Jeudy in Pittsburgh. He was Jerry Jeudy. That guy gets to Dallas with a high volume passer, and he's a 1,700-yard receiver. Sills, I think Lemon would be a better fit with offenses like LA, KC, Dallas, and Cincinnati. Put him in a slot with those other guys on the outside. He should be. Oh, no. I agree. Plus high volume passing. Yes. Really? This guy says winning the playoffs and Hall of Fame takes care of itself. Okay. Well, how come Jim Plunkett's not in? Guy won 2 Super Bowls and an MVP in a Super Bowl. What was Jim Plunkett's postseason record? I bet you it's better than Jalen's. What was Jim Plunkett's postseason record? Jim Plunkett. Postseason record. So he's 8-2. Jim Plunkett's 8-2. Has thrown for 2293 in 10 playoff games. He's 8-2, and he's won 2 Super Bowls, and he's got 1 MVP. I thought you said it took care of it. Les Mayan, I thought it took care of it. He's 8-2. In 10 postseason games, he's got an 800 win percentage. He's 8-2, and he's got 2 Super Bowl wins and a Super Bowl MVP. How come that doesn't take care of it? I mean, what happened? He's got better records than Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning. I thought it took care of it. Maybe he should be in. Not everyone who deserves it is in. Well, Jim Plunkett played his last game when? Let's see. When was Plunkett's last year? Guy's 8-2. 2 Super Bowl wins. According to Mayan, postseason takes care of itself. Last year he played was 86. That's 40 years ago. He's not made the Hall of Fame in 40 years with an 8-2 postseason record and 2 Super Bowl wins. As a matter of fact, he's never even been debated. Thought it took care of itself. This guy's got more wins than Jalen. And Jalen has more rounds of playoffs. Back then, they had a wild card, division, and now they started the wild card, I believe, the year that the Raiders beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So that would be what, 80? So I think the wild card round started in 80 because the Raiders were a wild card team that year. Eli Manning and Plunkett would deserve to be in over Hurts if that was true. Well, one thing you say about Eli's regular season skill set, I think he was okay. He was of the 2004 class. If you had to rank that 4 class, Roethlisberger would be 1, Rivers would be 2, and Eli would be 3rd in talent. 117 and 117 and 1 was a 500 quarterback. 2 Super Bowl wins. This isn't a bad take. There's something to this. It's probably the hate for the Raiders. It's truly deeper than some folks think. He's right. You want to hear this? John Madden. I'll give you guys to his point. So when did John Madden coach his last game? I want to show you something. John Madden. And by the way, I was on the air, and this is one of the reasons why John Madden and I got along very well. John Madden got my job at KNBR for me because he called my bosses, Bob Agnew. So his last game was 1978. He coached. What year did he go in the Hall of Fame? Year did Madden go in the Hall of Fame? Hall of Fame year. He went in 06. Think about this. John Madden's got the greatest win percentage, I believe, in NFL history for coaches over 100 wins. And it took him how many years to get to the Hall of Fame? 1978 versus 2006. It took him 28 years to get into the Hall of Fame. How does a guy with a 740 win percentage not go in that first ballot? How does he not go? There was a hatred for the Raiders when Al Davis was alive. And that's a true story. So Reyes is right on that. Sills, what advice would you give a kid that's losing his love of the game? I tell my kid, and I tell people this all the time, if you're raising a kid and you want him to be in sports, never, ever, ever, ever let a coach or someone teaching your kid drive the love of the game out of them. You got to have the kid learn to love the game first. That's the number one thing why my kid to this day loves playing rugby. We did not surround her with anybody that would beat the game out of her. You surround her first with people that love the game. Don't ever run your kid out of the game. That's counterproductive. You can't have people like that with negative shit around your kid. You suck doing this. Fuck that, not good. Do it. Hey, it's one thing to motivate. It's another thing to drive the kid's love out of the game. Teach him to love the game first. Then teach him the game. You got to love something, and you got to love somebody before you can stay with them forever. So, I mean, you got to teach the love. I mean, when you love something and you have a passion for it and you're raised around passion for something that you really enjoy, it's hard to drive the game out of you after the fact. Don't surround yourself with negative people like that. Have coaches that are around you that want to give you inspiration on making you better. Nobody likes an asshole. Hey, look, it's one thing to jump people's asses. Like, the coolest thing for me was that Jimmy Johnson, I told you the story before. Coach Johnson would always do this. And I was very, at times, could be uncoachable. And Jimmy fixed that. Why are you always on my shit? Worry when I'm not, kid. Because when I don't give a shit, then you're really in trouble. I never forgot that. And every time I was coached, I ranked my favorite coaches. And here, I put a list of my favorite coaches that coached me. And I think I still have that list. Yeah, here they are. Here are my favorite coaches that ever coached me. Jimmy Johnson, number 1. Tom Landry, number 2. Bobby Ross, number 3. Galen Hall, number 4. Ray Perkins, number 5. Ron Myers, number 6. Babe Pirelli, number 7. Butch Davis, number 8. Dave Wannstedt, number 9. And Lamar Leachman, number 10. Those are my 10 favorite coaches that ever coached me. Not counting my high school coach, Joe Anslow. Because he'd be up there too high. Joe was a great coach for me. Let's see. Don't ever disrespect a historian without comprehending his motives. Maybe it was you that didn't get it. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Historian? Hey, Philadelphia, what do you make about executives not having a high opinion of your skill set guys? Nothing? And that the one guy they had respect for is 9th on your list. So think about something that they did, the Eagles. They really don't have a lot of respect for Hurts and for Devontae. That could change for Devontae. But you got rid of the 9th best wideout in football? According to executives? What'd they write about AJ? Drama from his time with the Eagles and the perceived half step of decline aside, Brown is still a top 10 wideout. NFL evaluators recognize that he has appeared on around half of the ballots. Just listen to how coordinators describe how Brown will help New England. He changes coverages people play. Everything will be rolled his way, and it will lighten the box for Josh McDaniels to really get the run game going. Huh. So you took the most important player maybe outside of your O-line that affected your run game away from your wanting to improve the run game. Do you think there's any coincidence that A.J. Brown was involved with 2 of the best running attacks in the last 15 years in Tennessee and in Philly? Or do you think that's just by coincidence? Do you think that's by coincidence? I mean, this guy played with Derrick Henry. He played with Saquon Barkley. Any coincidence to that? Probably not, right? What else did they say? He gives them run after catch explosion and isolation down the field on 50-50 plays that they didn't have. A separate coordinator noted what McDaniels did with Devontae Adams in Las Vegas in year one. Together, Adams had 100 catches and 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns that year. Brown could have a similar impact with McDaniels in New England. No player has more catch. Get this. This is Zander's point. No player has more catches, 88, and receiving yards, 18-12, on tight window passes, less than 1 yard of separation from a defender at the rival of the pass than A.J. Brown. Since entering the NFL in 2019, Brown is the best in pro football at tight window throws. And you got rid of that. Okay. And some of you think Hollywood Brown's going to pick that up. Duke calls himself a historian, but never drops any real NFL historical takes like some of us in the chat. He only knows history of Dak's passing yards and playoff failures. Shut the F up. People don't quite understand how good of a player AJ truly is. Head case, yes, but what an effing player. Absolutely. Here, look at this. Eagles don't need AJ. Enjoy your first losers. What? That means older he gets, harder to fire him to create separation. What are you talking about? Dude, you're going to miss A.J. Brown. You're going to miss that guy. You can pretend all the bullshit you want. You're going to miss that guy. When he's not in his head, he's a great wideout. Yeah, but Twiz, once again, the people in Philly, not the organization, but the fans, I kept telling you from day one who the guy was in his pre-draft. Once he gets loss of focus, it becomes a problem. I mean, everyone, fans are now getting the reality of what I was saying. Why do you think I was calling him A.J. Owens? Everyone was getting mad at me for calling him A.J. Owens. Why, Sills, you don't really understand him? I'm like, yeah, I do. You're going to be the ones in the end that are going to be disappointed in how this is going to end. You forgot me saying that to you. Man, if I'm Philly, wouldn't you call DeAndre Hopkins just as a tight window catch guy? Man, was he great. Dude, DeAndre Hopkins is by far one of the best wideouts on third down we've seen in the league. He was just a fabulous football player on third down. All right, guys, don't forget our good friends at Morgan & Morgan, the number one injury law firm in all of America for a reason. With over $30 billion recovered, there is no firm like Morgan & Morgan. Told you about the family in Pennsylvania that was initially offered $650K. They got nearly $30 million in settlement. Folks, this company was built by John and Ultima Morgan for a reason, to defend families across the country. If you've ever been injured on the job, I promise you, you will get your justice. Go to forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sills sent you.
There's a reason the flappy, flaily, inflatable tube man dominated the dance-off.
Throw the money in the air. Throw the money in the air. Make it rain, count it up, put it there.
Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Injured? With over $25 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Folks, appreciate you coming aboard. Want to thank the guys also there for Battle Royale. Great stuff. Please hit the like button. 2 to 6 tomorrow. We shall see you 13 days out from the start of training camp. We will see you on the flip side.